of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's forum is a little bit different because we are starting off with a special meeting. So we have, within the special meeting, we have the public hearing on the 2025 budget. We have a Framer dock and bulkhead application, and we have Michelle Fallon Public Library site plan review continuation. And depending on how the public hearings go, we may have resolution for Framer and something small, I think, Justice Court. And then once we are done with the special meeting, we will then go into a work session. And so while I normally open up for public comments at the start of the work session, since this is a meeting that we are going to go straight into the public hearing on the 2025 budget. So is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? Come on up to the podium.
Thank you. Annette Lawrenson, Children Island Historical Society, returning again to talk to you about the $15,000 payment that's been included in the town budget since 2010. And when we last met, particularly this was October 22nd, there was some discussion about the purpose of it and whether or not we can continue with that. So today I have two handouts, which I pass around. One is an invoice for the services provided for 2024, and the other, because when we last meet, there was conversation about developing the contract. I took the liberty of creating a one-page contract for the future, and I would be very appreciative of your review and discussion and hopefully approval. Again, this contract would cover the care and professional services we provide for the town documents that we've had in our collection since 2010. I've listed them here. Their maps, their historian records, legal and financial records, highway department records, road naming documents, town censuses, and the town purchase agreement. These are documents specifically related to town business. We do take care of them. We maintain them in a clean environment with a professional archivist, archival material to take care of them, and a climate controlled vault. So this is a service that we provide to the town. And I would appreciate you taking a look at the contract and considering to continue the payment. That's for me.
Bob Cohen, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, sure. So regarding the town budget, a couple of things, maybe three things now. People on the island who own homes were on Social Security, you see the notice in the mail recently that their Social Security payments will be going up by 2.5% over the next year, over the prior year. I think there's a disconnect. If everyone has been talking about affordable housing, housing's not going to become affordable if you increase property taxes at a rate that's higher than the increase in Social Security payments. Now, I haven't been around in the past few months due to some personal reasons as well as some business reasons to get into the details of the budget and the difficult decisions that I appreciate you all have to make. But at the end of the day, there may have been some long-term issues locked into contracts that were done in the past that may have caused this size of an increase to 7.2%, which I understand that's the latest. I'm not certain. Glad to have that confirmation. But I'm here to suggest that in the long term, the goal should be not to increase the town budget by any more than 2.5% per year. Otherwise, people will find themselves having to sell their homes and move off the island or downsize just to pay for government services that they may or may not want. With respect to that, the woman who just spoke, I guess, from the Historical Society, suggested that governments somehow contribute to the Historical Society. I imagine this Historical Society has been able to raise millions of dollars from people of wealth from either on the island or off the island to support what it's doing. And I think there's a certain amount of hubris to come to the board with a threat that they need to stop paying for services that they have been voluntarily providing over the years. So I don't think senior citizens and people who might lose their homes as a result of increases in the town budget should have to pay, even if it's $15,000 to the Historical Society. If this Historical Society doesn't want to deal with the government records, that's just fine. But that's kind of what they're there for. That's what private citizens have been paying for. And I think they should continue to solely look to private citizens to fund their operations. We do have a library. They're increasing their staff, and many libraries over time, in many in places where I've been, do serve as the Historical Society for storing documents and such for town government. So maybe that's a solution rather than having to deal with the threat from the Historical Society. Finally, with respect to this hearing, I understand that there was recently an election last night where someone was elected as a replacement for the open seat on the town board. And I understand the tradition has been that when there's an election, rather than waiting till January 1st or 2nd to install that person is traditionally installed immediately or appointed by the board to join the board immediately. Given the importance of what's going on with the town budget, I think that should happen today before you close this hearing and add the person who was elected last night to the town board rather than waiting to January 1st. I think it's a good tradition that the town board should continue to do when there's an open seat, not to wait. There've been a lot of complaints by a lot of people in the town that the board has been only operating by 4 people, including members of this board complaining you've only had 4 people. So I don't think there's any reason to wait and bring on that person right away. I don't think, if the shoe is on the other foot, I'm sure you would appoint that person immediately. And I don't think there should be political considerations concerning it. I think you should maintain the tradition of appointing that person and give that person an opportunity to directly vote to be part of this public hearing. Thank you.
We also had on the list, I don't know if you were just signing in or if you wish to speak, Chris Carey. Did you wish to speak or you were just signing in? Nanette, you can come up here.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a clarification that the town budget has provided payment services since 2010. This is in no way being a threat. We're just asking them to be continued for services provided. And our fundraising efforts are predominantly on Shelter Island. I wish we could raise millions and millions of dollars. However, that is not the case. That's not part of this conversation. Thank you.
And then Jim Garrity, were you signing in or did you wish to speak?
I signed in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the fiscal audience who wishes to make a public comment on the budget? Anyone on Zoom? You're on mute if you're speaking.
Hi there, good afternoon. I just have to say, I find the budget a bit confusing when it comes to the salaries of the town employees, since they're divided in so many different numbers and split up, and they're not really added up to really get a sense of what everyone's making in town. And I'm wondering if it's possible before you close a hearing on this budget for you to sort out that information so it's easier for us to understand, those of us who are not familiar with reading budgets, it's just very confusing. Because I understand that the budget is over 60% goes to employee benefits and stuff. And I think it's easier for we the people to understand what we're paying for these positions moving forward. Is that a possibility?
Yes, there is a spreadsheet internally that was created that has almost everybody, so we could pull that. And there's also the highway has its own and police has its own, which I will double check with Shelby when she gets back.
And then the other part of the budget I'm curious about is the capital planning and all of that. I find that a little confusing too, if that could be clarified so that we could see what people are saying in town on that group of employees from the town who are putting together for what is projected for capital planning in the future year?
That was a page of the budget that was included.
Okay, so it's just on a single page?
Yes,
Yeah, there's not a
and the
lot.
only thing on it this year is the high rescue water vehicle.
Okay.
By water rescue.
High, yeah, high, what did I
water
say?
rescue.
High rescue water vehicle.
Yeah,
Okay, I just find the budget really very difficult to read and sort through. So if there's another format that you have, I'd appreciate getting a copy of that posted online, so we might be able to look at it a little easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it does get incorporated into all town budgets, that it is a single line in the overall budget in the A fund. And then there's a supporting sheet that shows what the, what's in it for this year. And we also have included prior years.
And what we don't have is the audit for 2023 to compare to what you budgeted for 24 as well. And so we don't really know what's left over that wasn't used, what wasn't spent, what's, carried over into 25.
That audit, we have completed the 2023 audit, and so the auditors are cleaning up that report, and I'm going to ask them to come in and give a presentation, because it is a very complicated document to read. With respect to the 2024 numbers, that audit will not begin until 2025.
The
Okay,
column that we added for our internal purposes,
Is-
is that still in there?
Yes, the 2023 column is in what Shelby posted, and so that, she did tie that into the audit report so that there was a full year of 2023 numbers.
Yeah, the 2023 unaudited numbers were made part of this year's budget on my request, and it's there. They're unaudited, but they're
No,
not.
she tied them back.
Oh, she
into the
got them
audit.
back in?
Yeah, to
Great,
make sure.
then they're in there.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. And the
Okay.
auditors signed off on the audit, it's just a matter, there was like some typographical and a couple of questions, but they're going through those, so in the next few weeks, probably sometime in December, just scheduling purposes, we'll get the auditors in.
okay, so we won't be able to see that, or we can see that report before you approve this budget for 25?
If
No.
if they return it to us, yes, we'll post it online as soon as it's available.
All righty,
Please.
thanks very much.
Aren't they supposed to have that to us by June?
No, they finished up
I mean,
their work, yeah, they finished up their work in late September, and then it's just a matter of reviewing it. And I can give you the draft, but to review the entire budget, like, it takes a while to go through it. And that's why I want to have the auditors come in and explain it to everybody. It's, I can't remember how many pages, 70 pages? I think, and just cross-checking and tying everything back in. Yeah, it's no small document. And it also, I don't think it will give, like, if you look at it, you've probably looked at it in prior years, it's not an easy document to read, and it doesn't give you the granular detail always that you think it's going to give. It's more high level.
I mean, I still like to look
Yes,
at it.
yeah, yeah.
And there's recommendations and things,
Yeah, there's
In the back,
supplemental reports
you know.
that go along with it.
yes.
Yes. Mary Fran Gleason.
Yes, hi. Full disclosure, I am president of the Shelter Island Historical Society. And I just wanted to reiterate what Nanette Lawrenson had said before, and to make it clear that the society is in no way threatening the town in any shape or form. We're merely asking for the same annual payment we've received for the last 14 years, and have provided a draft contract to that effect so we can normalize the state of the services we provide to the town. And by the way, if anyone would like to give us millions of dollars, we would be eternally grateful.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Bob?
If the Historical Society has received for the past 14 years, $15,000 a year, perhaps the future services should be taken from $15,000 a year for 14 years that have already been paid. I'm surprised to hear that the Historical Society took $15,000 a year from the citizens of this town while also billing the town for the services that I think many people assume that they were doing for that $15,000.
It's one and the same. What the invoice is the request for what's in this year's budget. It's one and the same. It's not a double dip.
What I'm saying is that they've been getting $15,000 a year, okay, from the town as a contribution.
Not in.
Point of order.
Has it been a contract that's been $15,000 a year?
No, that's what we want to formalize. That's what we're
So
working on.
it was a contribution of $15,000 a year?
No,
Well, there's no contract in place now for the past 14 years, right? So therefore, now they're demanding a contract, right? So it was a contribution of some kind. It was just money being paid over there with no assurance that that services would be provided back. That's the point I'm making.
I don't know what past invoices look like. This is my first year as supervisor, so I haven't seen the actual billing. but
First time. So in the past, you have not received a detailed invoice as to what they were doing?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check with the staff.
Yes, they have, right? Yes, they have.
Okay.
I presume there was some sort of request that came in because the staff wouldn't just cut a check.
Okay, I think it's a private organization that's done for the benefit of the town, that people have spent millions of dollars, presumably it cost $1 million or more to improve the facilities that they had in the past. And a lot of money was spent for unforeseen circumstances in connection with doing that. So I think most historical societies do things for the benefit of the citizens on a voluntary basis. I don't think the town, given the circumstances of the people who have to pay, you get Social Security each year, and the town services are going at a faster rate, that they can afford this kind of service anymore. All right, that there are individuals, it doesn't take millions of dollars in contributions to pay $15,000 a year. Somebody on this island has $15,000 a year. If they can do a GoFundMe to raise the $15,000 a year, they certainly have the ability to do that. Thank you.
Just if it will clarify, the documents were in the possession of the town and were placed in the care of the Historical Society. The town originated the funding. So it's not like the Historical Society has been demanding the funds. There was a service rendered to the town by the Historical Society in consideration for that, starting with past administrations. It was recognized and approved that the Historical Society would be paid for that service. And it was simply based on a recent meeting, trying to formalize it with a document so it's clarified for everyone.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? One up?
I'm Ed Schoenberg, and I just came in. I don't quite know where you are on this topic. My wife and I found the vast store of maps in the assessor's office in 2005. So, and the assessor said they had made them, and we said, why don't you give them Historical Society? And Supervisor Williams set that up. They're an important, very important resource that supplement what society has on its own. And particularly there's a tax map study that went on in the 1930s, which the society has, and the maps fit in very nicely to that collection. More recently, the Historical Society has obtained a full set of the Colorado Reporter, and several additional newspaper volumes for other papers. These documents are unique, really, and have them in a secure place, looked over by sophisticated archivists, is a real value to the town, to the government, and to the people. As we all know, $1 today isn't buy what it did 5 years ago. 15,000 is a declining number in real life. Please don't reduce it. Please consider increasing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on this topic? And anyone else on Zoom?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. Is
Okay.
is this the budget meeting?
Yes, if you just identify yourself, please, Bert.
Yeah, Bert Wave. So yeah, I was looking at the budget and you got an item, for the, high water truck, you know? And I think originally it was like 98,000, then I saw it reduced to 46,000. But either case, talking to some people in the town, the fire chiefs and people at the highway department, and feel that it's not necessary, and it's an item that you could probably scratch out of your budget. I know it's hard to say no to EMS and who's saying what they want, but I spoke to the chief of police and he said that it was even a vehicle that wasn't going to be used every day. So you also have maintenance on this thing, and he told me it was, you got to garage this and you got other expenses, and the purpose of it, if it was to go to Ram Island, we have other equipment within the town to handle that purpose, and a fire chief was saying that even if you go with the high water vehicle, you got to walk in front of the vehicle to see if the road has been washed out, just like they do with the loader. And so it really didn't, for the limited usage, I think it's something that you could, cut out of the budget. So I want to put that through. And I'm not looking at my notes. Is there going to be another meeting about the budget? Is this it?
This will be it unless there's a reason to keep the public hearing open. We have to adopt the budget by November 19th. So
Gotcha.
we
Okay.
will probably have a
All
short the plan is to have a short work session today just to discuss the budget, and then we would pick it back up on the 18th or 19th. 19th.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, and also, like to see, I mean, I know you're putting in a money for a town workboat, and I know that you're just in the planning stage and you have to get that designed. But I thought you had like a boat that was surplus that you sold, but you could have kept that and renovated that, but they didn't want to do that. I don't know, now they want to get a new boat. You're raising taxes pretty high, and someone like me, you also raised my permit fees pretty high. So I'm looking to cut costs anywhere you can. I mean, permit fees that I'm paying are equal to probably 20% of my taxes. And then also I want to say on the revenue side, I think you should consider exponentially increasing the cost of a building permit for very large houses, and then have that graduated up from, the 2,000 square foot up to the 6,000, and the 6,000 being, I think your formula on square footage and cost per square foot, but I think that's out.
You cut off did you end or did we just lose you?
It's out on the water.
Maybe we lost
Large
it.
houses. So I think you could increase that, try to offset some of this increase by getting more revenue. All right, that's it I got right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Bert. Anyone else? Oh, okay. Michael, come on up.
Wasn't really planning to say anything about the budget. But when I hear the discussion taking place, and when I look back over the process, it appears to me that the budget has been very much driven by expense, trying to control expense, and very little has been put into thinking about it strategically and looking at ways in which government could be more effective. And one of our, I think, weakest areas within the community is surrounding zoning. We incur significant amounts of litigation, and there's obviously a cost in that if we had a better skill set within the town staff to address planning board issues and zoning board issues. And the format in some other communities, as an example, is that they have a professional planner. And the professional planner sets out for the purpose of the applicant's understanding and for the purposes of the community's understanding, how in a professional, definitive way, the application should be viewed in relationship to the zoning ordinance of the community and in relationship to issues of concern to the community in terms of environment or community character. And that it creates a higher bar for communications than, I'll say, people from an ad hoc background trying to address what is becoming an increasingly complex and litigious subject that planning and zoning approvals within a community. I also noticed within the budget that we are, and I know it's a very imprecise art to dividing people's time between tasks, but we are paying $50,000 to have somebody that comes to planning and zoning with more or less on-the-job training, but without any professional education or background. That $50,000 combined with the fact that there's a capacity issue within the building department that you need, more general time of building official, you could redeploy the person who's now spending 50% of his time on zoning. You could redeploy him to 100% building official, and you have probably arguably half of the sum that you need to hire a planner. It's just about every planning consultant that this town has hired at one point or another has said to this town, you need a planning function within the community. And it's becoming increasingly obvious to the community at large that we need that because they see the results of what is getting built by the effort that we're putting forth in this discipline. And they don't like it. They don't like, the sizes of the houses. They don't like whatever it is that is called occurred on Bulnish Road with regard to not a single family or two family housing situation, but what it is, but it looks like, feels like staff housing. And these are painful examples of what could be addressed if we went back into the budget and looked at it more strategically in terms of how we're spending the money, not just looked at bottom line through your time.
Michael? Anyone else? Okay. I suggest that we close this public hearing. We can talk a little bit about the budget, budget adjustments today and also at the 19th meeting, I think, before we adopt to make any adjustments. But we need to close the public hearing in order for us to bring it back to our discussion.
There was a request for salary structure. I mean, definitive salary structures, should that be dispersed to the public?
We could, I can have, we can post it and then maybe keep the hearing open for written correspondence through the middle of next week or something like that.
That's okay. I think we should.
Okay. So let me just pull up the calendar. So today is the 6th. We will be picking this back up on the 19th. So written correspondence through the 15th.
Sounds like.
So it can get, like, or maybe the 14th, so then it can get just, sent to Amber, distributed to us on Friday, and we have a chance to look at it over the weekend and Monday before picking it up on Tuesday.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, so we would like a motion to close the public hearing, subject to written correspondence through November 14th. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Now the salary schedule gets distributed, will be added to the
It will
budget.
be added to the, we have the documents page. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna discuss in the, later in the agenda, the budget adjustments.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
go over open items and. Yeah, but it will be posted, because currently, if you go to government, there is budget over on the left-hand side. And that is where no, actually, that's not where. Actually,
It's in our discussion about
upcoming hearings and documents. It's an upcoming hearing pending laws and discussion documents, so we'll have an extra page there. We had the budget letter, we had the budget calendar, we have the tentative budget, actually, it's the preliminary budget. Okay, so it'll be an extra line there, so it's easy for people to find. Next item is the Kramer dock and bulkhead application. Next. Would you want to read the notice on that?
On the application of 62 Winthrop LLC, care of George Kramer, 57 Winthrop Road, to construct approximately 237 feet of stone retaining wall using 25-pound to 2,000-pound stone placed on filter cloth, construct a new 35-inch by 14-foot level walkway leading to existing 35-inch by 24-foot ramp to construct 3-foot wide pedestrian access stairs.
Do we have a WMAC report on that?
Yeah, that's right. I was just trying to condense here. As of the October 21st, I don't know what the status is. We don't have the DEC permit for the dock or the bulkhead as yet. I don't know if is that still the case?
It's still the case.
Still the case. The applicant wants to install a stone revetment along their entire shoreline. There was a question raised at the WMAC is how this is going to affect the neighbor's property downhill. There's going to be a ramp installed down to access the dock. The dock is currently non-conforming. So the WMAC usually asks for a reduction in the nonconformity when work is going to be done on it. Awaiting the DEC permit for the bulkhead and the dock repair. WMAC voted to approve the condition upon DEC permit approval. That's what I have.
Thank you. And it appears we have Jack Costello here representing the applicant.
Yes, Jack Costello, on behalf of the applicant. The dock extension's in shore of high water. I don't think there needs to be any reduction of the current structure, considering it's been eroded. The applicant has lost property. We're just extending the dock so he reaches the property, and the extension is inshore of high water. As far as the DEC permit goes, the area with the greatest risk is where the road is. That area is not questioned by the DEC. What I'm asking for the town board is to grant us a permit for the whole rock revetment, so I can continue my fight with the DEC. The DEC wanted me to diminish the size of the rocks towards the southern property line, taper it down. That's going to lead to an engineering issue where there's going to be continued erosion, where this applicant's going to be forced to go back to the DEC, the town, again, to fix this. This erosion is going to control. There's a great amount of fetch out there. The wave energy is a lot. They've lost a lot of property. If you guys did do a site inspection, you would have noticed there's a tremendous amount of erosion there. And this erosion has happened probably in the past 15 years. So basically what I would like to get is an approval based on the town so I can continue my fight with the DEC in the area of question. I'd like to start the area that's not in question right away, that's where the road is being breached. I don't like the DEC's suggestion about diminishing the size of the wall towards the southern property line, because this is going to continue to be a problem. But like I said, as far as this board goes in this application, I won't move forward past the area of, I don't want to say controversy, that's a little bit dramatic of a word, but where they're asking me to reduce the size of the stone towards the southern property line. It's just that right now, the imminent problem is where the dock is, where it adjoins to the piece of bulkhead by Third Bridge. The erosion is now right to the road. And I think the board should act on this now, and I'll continue my argument with the DEC about the southern end of the property. And I didn't want to keep going back and forth, because this is going to be an issue where, I don't feel DEC diminishing the size of the rock towards the southern property line is warranted, or really, as far as an environmental impact, makes any difference to this board or how it affects the neighbor. It doesn't affect the neighbor at all, the height of the wall. We're not feeding the beach. So, basically I'm looking for an approval as applied for. But like I said, I can't move forward unless I deal with this southern end tapering down to nothing with the DEC, which, I was hoping you could see this with some clarity, that southern end doesn't really have an environmental impact to the applicant or to the neighbor.
Normally, if we approve something, it will be subject to DEC approval. So if you're fighting with the DEC,
right,
we can't give you the permit, but.
Well, like I said, the only thing is there's only a small area that's in question. That's where it connects to the southern neighbor. And they want the rocks diminished. But the fact of the matter is, I didn't want to go back and forth. Besides that, I might have to come back to you to amend that end. It'll just be reflecting smaller rocks down towards the southern end. But like I said, I have to go back to the DEC now. And I don't want to have to come back to you, because I'm going to fight the fight with the DEC, and I don't want to keep going back and forth. I'm going to have to do an amendment with somebody. But the fact of the matter is, the erosion is now to the road, and the asphalt is going into the water. And we're gonna be in a situation just like where we were with the previous owner as we approach down the third bridge. And thank God we got that done before anybody went in that hole. This situation is just as significant.
So you're talking about the south end of the bulkhead
Yes.
that you want to build up with rock.
Yeah, if it's at the south, it's at the north end,
Stabilize
it's
the
the north end of
road.
this property where it meets the third bridge bulkhead.
Okay,
That actually belongs to this applicant.
stabilize that area.
Yes.
Yeah, I just brought up the plans. So blow it up a little bit, if you can like help us understand a little bit better.
Yeah, well, I mean,
What you would start and what you wouldn't start.
Yeah, well, this is the area that's in question, down towards the southern property line. This is obviously the dock. This is the bulkhead that's already been done, down, extending to the town property by Third Bridge. This is the area in question, down towards the southern property line, where the DEC has insisted upon us making the wall lower. As far as this town board goes, I don't really think, no matter how you approve it, I don't think it matters. I still have to go back to the DEC. I don't think it affects the town, the neighbors, or the applicant. But I do have to get a permit from the DEC, either agreeing with me at the southern property line, or I have to amend the permit, then I'll bring back the amendment to you guys.
Right, so either way, what you're saying is the bulkhead will either be as presented here or
Yes.
even
Or lower.
reduced in the end if the DEC doesn't budge.
Right.
So it's this or less, so it's not like
It's
it's gonna
this or
go
less.
low, it's gonna, yeah.
And it's just towards the southern property line. Like, we're not arguing about the dock area where the road is being breached. So that's not the area of controversy or question.
They're asking you to kind of taper it
Into the ground.
Yeah.
Yes. So I will be back, if that's the way this goes, I will be back in 2 years to redo it.
Any other questions? Any comment from the public? Anyone on Zoom? Ken Lewis?
I just wanted to reiterate what Jack is saying here and hopefully get you so we can get this approval. Obviously he has to wait for the permit from the DEC, but because of my concern that I had voiced earlier with WMAC about the road is deteriorating. And so I'd like Jack to be able to get going on this as quickly as possible. And so knowing that we have to wait for the DEC permit anyway, if we can get the approval from the board, then once he gets the DEC permit, he can get going on this project right away, because we are starting to lose a piece of the road there.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Motion to close this hearing? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Next on the agenda is the Shelter Island Public Library Site Plan Review, continuation. We had gotten on October 30th, a packet with responses to all the various reports that had been submitted and recommendations by various boards. So start there, I think. One of the ones that I had was on page 2 of attachment 1, which was, the design team response to comments at the town board meeting. And the town board asked the design team to consider lower plantings around the proposed transformer at the south entrance off of Bateman Road as to allow sufficient sightlines by vehicles approaching the entrance from the west. So the design team response was, the design team agreed to show alternative plantings at this location. Please see the attached revised L.1.01 vegetative plan, where we have located inkberry shrubs to hide the transformer and maintain views in and out of the entrance. one of the things that I noticed on L101 is that the inkberry plants were also listed as 4 feet in height. So I wasn't sure if that was accomplishing what we needed it to accomplish. I don't know if you've got somebody from the design, yeah, I see Christopher Sepp on here.
Terry Lucas for the Shelter Island Library. We have Christopher Sepp, the architect. We have Dan Pavararo, our engineer, our civil engineer, and we should, I think, also have Matt Sherman representing the library, and they're going to be much more able to answer your questions than I am, but I'm here if you have anything I can do. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. So I tossed that out there for somebody.
Hello, this is Christopher Sepp, just responding to that. I couldn't raise my hand for some reason in the comments here, but what we are proposing for those inkberry plants is, the comment that came from our last meeting, we had shown an arborvitae species around there, which the board felt might be a little bit tall and impede sight lines around that corner. So we took a look at that. Some of the recommended species from the other reviews that were done on the site plan and chose the inkberries. Ultimately, they would have to be maintained. Just at this lower height, they're going to have to be, there is a maintenance for them, so they're not growing up to 6-7 feet high. And we would work with PSE&G also make sure that transformer is pushed back tighter in that corner so we can have the clearances around it and also allow somebody pulling out or pulling in to see into that entry.
Thank you. Okay with that. Going through the rest of the responses, I think for the most part, I was good until we get to
The issue that somebody had brought up was children in the area outside the library. I don't know, in times when I'm leaving town hall, I'll go down Bateman, and it's maybe after school or kids are playing in the plaza area and they're going back and forth to the basketball courts. And one day I was going down and a ball rolled into the street. There was a small child chasing it. I don't know if that's really an issue. I know they go over there after school to
I don't know that that's the library's responsibility, though. I mean, if parents.
I don't know if we put a crosswalk.
Crosswalk,
A
yeah.
crosswalk, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I did try to get a crosswalk there several years ago, and I worked with town, county, everybody I could find, and what they put in was the crosswalk that is right over here instead. And they said that we would not be able, we wanted to have a crosswalk to make it safer from the kids coming from school, and I was just told it was not a possibility. So we do ask the kids to be careful. They do, they run over from school, they run back and forth to the basketball court. And I think they're always going to be doing that. So if there's a way the town could do something to make that road safer, it'd be great. But in terms of us controlling the kids, we do our very best. So for the kids.
I used to do that when I was a kid.
Huh?
I would do that when I was.
Yeah, it's good.
We'll go to the library.
Yeah. So, and I think also once the extension is built, it's gonna be a little different with the exit, that it maybe will be a little clearer to be safer to cross there, I hope.
later comments that came in were from the fire district. And there were 3. We got it in an email, Amber, I don't know, did we ever get the hard copy letter from them, or is it just?
No, I just distributed.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. So one of their comments was to remove or relocate the trash bin storage area. And I think that part of that was just because it's sort of located in a parking slot sort of in the middle of the row of parking. And if they have a big fire truck coming in, taking a wide turn, I think maybe the issue with that one.
Yeah, it creates a pinch point between where the curb comes out and where the trash can is, so you can't really swing wide. And then the other comment is kind of goes hand in hand with moving the trash bin, which is making that inner curb smaller. So instead of having it go out the full length of the parking space, only go out maybe half the length of the parking space and put a baller so that when they need to swing, they have the space to make it. They made a 28-foot radius. So that was a recommendation, just kind of like cutting that curve in and moving the trash bin maybe over into the corner parking spot instead.
The one was, they wanted a hard pack.
Yeah, and then the other comment was hard in the parking lot where you're looking to have like lawn parking, they want a hard packed surface that could hold the weight of a fire truck. So essentially.
Although my one thought on that is there's also, in the event of a fire, there's also, access via the Egan Road.
Right.
So that they don't have to come and make that turn.
Yeah, I think if they're thinking they have multiple trucks on scene, they're gonna need the space, but.
Hello, Christopher Sepp again. And just kind of follow up on that. We did see those comments over the last day and have discussed them internally with, the library and our civil engineer. With regard to the turning radius, that does not seem to be an issue, and we will make that change so that at least the truck can come in and turn around that corner. With regard to the placement of the refuse bin, we can make an adjustment there. I just felt though, if it's already pushed back in the parking stall already and there are cars on both sides, with the 24-foot wide aisleway that we have there, and if we change that radius on that corner to 28 feet, then they would have the clearance they need. It shouldn't be a pinch point if, because we have to account for automobiles being in the lot. So we have talked about moving that further to the west and maybe pushing it back out, and maybe, we don't want to have it on a grass area, but at least for maintenance concerns, we'll see if we can push it back and adjust that in the plan. And then just for, further clarification on what the hard pack is, if we've provided a 24-foot wide pathway with the turning radius, so a truck could make it easily around that bend on the right angle, and also have the approach off of Bateman. Probably, to the extent that a fire truck would need to be on any other surface besides that, maybe further clarification can be provided, instead of putting a hard pack surface further into what we're proposing is to remain as green area on the plan.
Hi, this is Dan Peperero with Key Civil Engineering. Just wanted to expound a little bit on what Chris was saying here in terms of this fire apparatus access road and the radius. The minimum drive aisle for New York State Fire Code for a fire apparatus access road is 20 feet, and we're providing 24 feet. So the New York State Fire Code does not have a minimum inside turning radius. However, if you were to keep the 20-foot drive aisle and draw a 28-foot radius on the inside, our design actually complies with that as is. As Chris said, we don't have an issue with making the curb line a 28-foot radius, which would only enhance the maneuverability around this corner well in exceedance of the requirements of the code. But it complies as is, and with that change to the curb, I think that the other changes would be superfluous.
Thank you. Any other comments from the table?
I'm sorry.
Any other comments from the table?
Where do they stand? Where do you stand with the hard pack surface that the fire commissioners are asking for?
Changing that inside radius to 28 feet. I'm not sure that that it's required to get the maneuverability of the trucks around that corner at that point.
But it's a lawn area, right? And that's going to sustain the weight of a fire truck?
It's not intended to. The fire apparatus access road is what's asphalt. So we're providing, per New York State Fire Code, that 24-foot aisle really only needs to be 20 feet wide. So we're providing an asphalt area exceeding the requirements of the code. If we were not proposing land bank parking over there, we just had a curb and that was just standard landscape area, it would just be maintained landscaping anyway. The only difference here is that we're not providing a 6-inch curb compared to like any other edge of a drive aisle.
So in order to increase the 24 feet to 28 feet, you'll be cutting into that 13-foot?
No, the 28 foot is the interior radius. If you see that R20 foot.
At the curb.
That's what they want to be 28 foot, which we don't have an issue with. But as it is the inside radius, if you were to strike a line and make that drive aisle 20 feet wide, starting from the outside, going in, the interior radius is over 28 feet. Even though the curb line is 20 feet, it complies with their requirement of a 28-foot interior radius. But again, we don't have an issue with changing that actual curb line to enhance the maneuverability around that corner.
Right, so your argument is if you adjust the interior curb line, then there's no reason for the truck to have to go onto the grass.
Correct.
I wanted to check in with PW Grosser and see if you had any additional comments, Kim?
I do. I was just waiting for my turn. I had two comments on the 1031 resubmission. So at the close of the last meeting, we discussed the PV panels that were the rooftop PV panels on the building. My question is, are they being located only on the building addition or on the entirety of the library roof? And is there an estimated capacity, kilowatt or megawatt, if that's been contemplated yet?
Yes, Christopher Sepp here. The orientation that best suited the PV panels was the south face of the existing building. So on the gable that runs east-west, there's a set of PV panels on the southern part of that gable for the energy. Hold on, let me see if I can bring this up really quick. Sorry, it's just I gotta find the drawing for this.
Okay. And the other part of this question is whether the submission to SHPO, State Historic Parks, they issued a determination, but it doesn't look like they were notified of the rooftop PV in the design. Am I incorrect? Because in my experience, SHPO wants to be notified of rooftop PV when there are eligible resources nearby.
I'd have to look back at the submission on that and determine whether or not we advise them of PVs. Ultimately, the building wasn't considered eligible, so.
Correct, but you have two nearby resources that that are eligible. So in that case, I think that a resubmission to SHPO, a quick project modification through the CRIS system, just to get an updated determination, that's what I would recommend. Just so that that agency is aware of the updated project design.
All right, let me see if we put that in there. On the size of the system that we have here, they're showing a 12.7 kilowatt system.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
and we'll have to get back to you on the SHPO.
Okay. And one final question. You submitted the Department of Health application in your 1031 submission. So I see that was filed on October 17th. Has there been any response from the Department of Health?
Not yet. As I had written in there, they had advised us in conversations earlier last week that they would be starting their reviews end of last week into early this week, assuming they lost the day yesterday, and we don't want to hound them because they've been working with us on this.
Okay,
We will follow up. We'll follow up again at the end of this week. We know we're anxious to get this complete and get the approvals, and I think both Dan and I will be making those calls later.
Okay, thank
All right.
you. Those are my only comments.
All right.
Thank you, Kim. Can you just update us where we stand on coordinated review?
So the coordinated review is complete. The lead agency resolution was adopted. We are now completing parts 2 and 3 with, and we'll have a recommended determination to the town board. You'll have that probably in draft form from us this week.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this project? Anyone in Zoom? Pam?
I guess my main concern here is that the SEQA review determination and declaration hasn't been made yet on this project. And obviously I'm hearing Ms. Gennaro from PW Grosser say you'll have it later this week. Then this application actually technically isn't really complete. If you look at the town code, let me just get the number for you. In 10910D, is it D? No, 10910B2, an environmental assessment form part 1, where required by chapter 60, is part of what's required. And then it says no application shall be deemed complete until either a negative declaration has been made for the application, or if a positive declaration is made, until a draft environmental impact statement has been accepted by the town board as satisfactory. So we don't have that process yet finished in this site plan review as a procedural matter in town code. So I am just going to suggest once again that this hearing is not closed until that's completed, and we can take care of the details of the report once it comes in, and you complete your role as the lead agency now to look at part 2 and part 3 of the formal environmental assessment form.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Given the issues that we've had with this process all the way along, I'm going to ask if you could declare the hearing closed contingent on an acceptable SEQA report being issued. We know that we've addressed everything you've asked us to address. Again, every time this gets delayed, I have to go back to the dormitory authority and delay any kind of funding that we can do. And, you know, once again, to have it delayed again would not be a great look, and it's not, it's based on an issue that came about because of a change in the town law after we had relied for 18 months on a letter from the town saying we did not need to do a site plan review. So ask for you to close the hearing with any contingencies you think are necessary.
What do we think? What do we want to do?
I
Close?
don't think we should close it here.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like it.
I mean, the Suffolk County Health Department hasn't really, we don't have their application as yet.
County Health Department can't complete their process until we sign off on site plan review. So it's kind of like,
I think we should wait for the secret. I don't think we should close. I don't
yeah,
think
I'm
we
just,
should close it.
I mean, we do need to finish site plan review at some point, but if we want to wait on secret.
We should be getting Kim's report this week.
You know, I was gonna say, close for written correspondence.
This week, you'll be receiving from us the EAF 2 and 3 with the recommended determination.
Okay. So we kind of,
And Kim, are you able to issue that even if we do not close the public hearing, or do we have to close the public hearing before you can?
In my experience, the public hearing can be closed and the secret determination can be issued at the next meeting, but the public hearing can be closed.
I just think there's further discussion that we need to have. That's all, to not close the hearing.
Further discussion just on secret or any other matters?
or
Other matters.
or at the board level.
Well, other matters shouldn't we discuss today? Because then it gives the library a chance to respond.
What do you think?
Isn't the work session for you to have further discussion? Is that the purpose of the work session?
Yes.
So I guess I don't understand if we're gonna discuss even further.
Well, no, at the work session, it's just discussion amongst the board.
Right.
So you don't have an opportunity, again, to chime in on anything.
Okay.
So it's where we make our decision and decide how we want to go forward with the resolution.
So like if we have any questions for the library or their professionals, then now's the time to bring them up so that we can get information we need.
Or no? I mean, I'm just,
Are we gonna talk about the elephant in the room or not?
I mean, yeah, if it's a question for the library, we should. I mean, I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
I'm gonna ask you to bring it up, Amber.
What's the elephant in the room?
the only elephant I know is if there's anything that the health department comes back with, then we have to incorporate, like we will incorporate any health department changes in our resolution.
Okay, that's why I don't think we need to close the hearing until we get that, the health department.
But I don't know if health department will close their process until we close site plan.
Like
But then
our
we'll have to
resolution,
reopen to incorporate the changes.
no, our resolution can be contingent upon all the conditions placed on the library by the health department, like including all conditions stated in the health department permit.
I'm sorry, may I just ask a question? How do you close the hearing?
But just hold on a minute, Pam. We want to finish our board conversation.
So you're recommending that we close the hearing subject to the health department's review.
What we normally do is we would close the hearing, we would at a later date pass a resolution, but within that resolution, it is subject to changes, and, you know, subject to, like.
The following conditions.
Yeah, like if you look at Kramer for today.
Conditions and requirements set forth by the Department of Health.
Exactly, so we include a line that would say, said permit is subject to the recommended limitations and any requirements that may be necessary in Kramer under DEC and Army Corps of Engineers for site plan review, it would be subject to Suffolk County Health Department.
And Office of Water.
Office of
Water
Waste,
Services.
yes, wastewater management. So that's how we normally do things, because it's kind of like which one, chicken or the egg.
Albert, what are you expecting the health department to raise?
I don't know. We usually close hearings before the health department comes in, makes their decision on the application. I think we should wait for it. That's all.
Reed, is Reed still on? Lose Reed.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there you are, okay. Just in your experience, what types of things might come in from health department?
Well, the one tricky thing here is that they changed the application because originally, I guess, the architect had thought that they were on public water and sewer, and it turned out, of course, that they weren't. And it's a much lower calculation for density. It's 300 gallons per day instead of 600. So I guess the engineer and changed the application saying that they would not have meeting rooms in the library. So the application is going to be reviewed and approved. I spoke to the reviewer about this today, and he said that Lou Della Famiglia said that they were going to approve it as it had been reapplied for as a library without meeting rooms. So I think the one thing I could see being an issue is when you approve the site plan, that you clarify that's what it's being approved for, because the health department, according to Lewis, will rely on the town to police that. And I just want to make sure that we're not expected to police it, and prevent meetings there if that's what's been approved by Suffolk County.
If Dan Pepperaro or Chris could address this, I can tell you from the layperson's point of view, that water density, the density was based on having a room that had 150 people in it every day, all day. That room won't be used for 150 people all day, every day. There may be a meeting in there, but it's not a meeting room. It's a room for library use. We'll have all kinds of different things happening in that room. We'll have maybe an exercise class, maybe a craft with the kids. So every room that's a little bit bigger doesn't necessarily mean that that room is going to be filled all day, every day. And that's when my understanding is that our engineer talked to the health department and they say that it's library usage, which is what library usage is. Library usage is all kinds of things. And it's not as if we're a hotel that has a conference room that's going to be filled with people all the time. So Dan, can you address this and or Chris and explain the situation, please? Chris has his hand up.
Sure, Dan Pepperaro again. So initially when we submitted, we had a large meeting room, and meeting rooms from the health department's perspective are places that people that normally wouldn't be there congregate for a meeting, which is not the intended use of that room at this point. So we revised our application to exclude that, which limited our density, and we updated our application as such. And then just another note that was referenced earlier, one of the comments from the health department is that we need to submit site plan approval from the town in order to close out their notice of incomplete application. So we can't get health department approval until we get town site plan approval.
Chris Sepp here. I just want to add to what Dan was saying. That's sort of the reciprocal thing here, and we need to get that approval, yes, so we can get health department approval, right? And I guess it's as a typical course. I'm not sure how you deal with that internally, but in order for us to get you a document, or the Suffolk County Health Department to get you a document, at least that sign off on planning end of things would be required, and the understanding against seeker there. With regard to the usage, I mean, it was clear, and Suffolk County, we've had multiple conversations with them. As you know, we've been going through the process. One of the conversations dealt with how we initially filed this, and we came back to them and you know, with the understanding that this is a library, similar to if you have a home, all right, you have a home, it has 4 bedrooms in it, it's designed for 4 people, you know, or maybe more, whatever it is. Your sanitary system is based around that. So if you have a party, for instance, of 30 people over your house, it doesn't change how the health department is looking at your house. And it's a similar thing here. It's a library use. So it's not like we're like, exactly like Terry was saying, we're not a hotel, we're not a catering facility where these rooms are occupied at full capacity a lot of the time. So that's how it's viewed, and you know, with the verbal conversations we've had with them, they have that understanding. With regard to policing, it would be my understanding that I don't know why Suffolk County Health Department would put upon the town to police something that is clearly under their jurisdiction. So if that is with regard to the health department, they take care of that. And as far as occupancy goes, we meet all the life safety concerns that we would need to show building department. I'm not sure why those would overlap and why they would put that onus on the local municipality. So I would question, you know, that and you know, Reed maybe have to go back to them and you know, state that, but it's definitely not something that should be put on the town. You know, the same thing for multiple agencies. You know, if it was all put on the town to watch, you know, their things that they have authority over, it would be pretty onerous, I would believe, on the town itself, and it's not how things work in other jurisdictions. So
May I answer that? He specifically told me that they rely on the town to verify that and to police that. And that's my concern. I just want to make sure that we're not going to be expected to, you know, verify that there aren't meetings there. Maybe it would be worth getting something in writing from the health department, explaining specifically whether occasional meetings would fall under their approval or not. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. Why not get something in writing from them that clarifies what they're agreeing to and who's in charge of overseeing it.
Reed, one of my concerns here is if you're asking the Suffolk County Health Department to define what a library is and what a library program is, there are 56 libraries in this county. And if they start if they just start defining what libraries are, we're gonna have a lot of libraries out there who do all kinds of things. We change constantly the work that we do, the programs that we offer. And I know there are no other libraries on Shelter Island, but there are other libraries, and we all have a space where you can have a meeting with 10 people. You can have, again, an exercise class. It's just, I think we're quibbling over semantics in a certain way, and I think we're also opening a can of worms that's not only going to affect us, it's going to affect 56 other libraries if we have the health department defining something and the civil service department's defining the library as something else, and it's just that I don't think it's necessary. I think we use the library as we use the library, and you know that we don't have meetings with 150 people every day, you know? And it's just, I think this is a can of worms that you guys don't need to open again, because the health department and our engineer and our architect have all figured out that this is a good way of dealing with this issue to clarify what kind of work we do at the library.
I have a question for either Chris or Dan. The plans that we got that were most recent was October 30th, and on P10.00, the plumbing proposed and demo lower level plans, the multi-purpose room is shown with seating. So is that what was submitted to Health Department, or has that been revised and we need to get a copy of that revised page?
This is Chris Sepp. I think you have to get a revised page on that.
So it was not submitted that way.
It was
No,
submitted to Health Department, but not
Yeah, I mean,
submitted.
it is we had shown in the backgrounds of how the library space could be laid out at an earlier stage, but that we'll take a look at what was submitted. I mean, and see what was in there on that space.
Those are not
But,
established chairs, those are these kind of chairs.
Right, it is. Yeah, they're not permanent chairs. No, it is a flexible space with
But
folding chairs.
if you're changing the definition, then we need to have the right plans here to match up with that definition, especially if design flow is getting based upon that usage.
But if the design flow is reviewed with the health department, and they're the ones responsible for that flow and making sure that design complies, and they provide you with the sign off from the health department that they're okay with it, I'm not sure why the crossover of that. The plans that have been filed show the capacities that we need to for the code for life safety of egress from the building, where you know, I would understand that Reed would have a position there to make sure that, you know, all those exits are in compliance, all the paths are kept open, the sprinklers are provided, the fire alarm is always tested on a regular basis. You have the testing for an elevator in the building. Like even like Terry's saying, I don't understand for the overlap. I do get that somebody for some reason said that Reed is responsible for policing that, but I think someone has to dig into that a little bit further with them and let them know that, you know, you're not going in there and opening up the septic system to find how many gallons of waste are going out of the building. That's what they're doing. I mean, that's all they're reviewing. They're making sure that design, the IA system that is on site, complies with their requirements. And that's, at the end of the day, you're going to get a letter from them, or, you know, whatever final approval document that we need to provide you with for the building and planning permits.
Well, we always do want to make sure that what we've signed off on for special permits, site plan review, CBA, planning board, always match up with what ends up getting submitted to the building department with the building permit.
Yeah, those, your set and the building department match.
And the health department.
Right. I don't know how to cross that bridge right now, but you'll get an approval from them to satisfy your requirement of having health department approval.
I think the idea of the town having to police the use of this building, like every restaurant has a Suffolk County DHS approved number of seats. That, you know, it's similar to that. There are restrictions that the health department has on all of their approvals that the health department doesn't necessarily police, because they don't have people that go out and, you know, walk into every place and check the number of seats in every restaurant. And I think that this is very similar to that. It's an approval from the health department for a use. And, you know, if you ask them, do you send people out and check every restaurant to make sure they have the number of seats on their health permit, they would say, no, we don't. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, except the health department does go and check randomly. So they do enforcement, and it's the threat of them coming out keeps.
Right, and they could come out and check this also. Like they're within their rights to do that for this. It's the same as any other use that they approve.
Anything specific to what we've been discussing? You know, Pam's had her hand up for a while. Pam?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, I don't understand how you could close a public hearing on an application that's incomplete. The town code says that no application is complete without the secret determination. So it's true that you don't have to have a public hearing on the secret determination, but we're in the middle of a public hearing, and that's part of this application, and that's what the town code says. And that's what I'm looking for here is compliance with town code. And I think it's an important step in this process. We don't do many site plan reviews. There aren't many of these commercial or business type properties that come up for this. And we seem to be skipping over steps that are important. And the public doesn't have all the data, and documents are added to these public hearings are submitted by applicants after the public hearings are closed and the public hearings are never reopened. I mean, this has been my challenge with dealing with the town and the town processes. And I really am going to urge you to keep this hearing open at this point, and especially with this discussion now with Suffolk County Department of Health. And we know how labeling of plans change, but you know, the Department of Health will determine on how those rooms will be used, and they will come up with a design flow that they see is necessary for this building and this project. But I think ignoring DEC permits and health permits and town code on any projects is become a very bad habit in town, and I'd like to see that addressed moving forward. Thank you.
We close subject to the secret?
Well, it's not really the secret that we're closing to, it's the health department. Because the secret determination was just saying,
The secret could be passed at the same time as the resolution itself. I feel like on that before,
The
but
plans are different from what was submitted to the health
at
department.
one page possibly,
yeah.
and I don't know other pages.
So we can leave it open to written correspondence. We can receive the updated pages for the submission that they submitted to the health department, so we have it for our record. And then if we would incorporate the health department's permit with their conditions into the resolution as a condition of the resolution in order for them to get a building permit. All of this would have to be done before they can even file for a building permit anyway. They'd have to get health department sign off, and they'd have to get the secret, they have to do, so this is just one step in a multi-phase process. And, you know, the conditions that we put on the resolution would be essentially the rest of the steps that they need in order to finish.
Michael, you have a question?
I would encourage the town to be consistent with the position that it took with the septic design loading the public buildings in the past. And the number that we received for the community center was a high number based upon this issue, because it falls into a health department category. And the category then has to be complied with, even though it's a little bit of a stretch, you know, it's a big, broad category. It's a category that includes more intensely used meeting rooms and ones like the use that we're contemplating. But we're sort of stuck in the dilemma of following the requirements, I think, of both the agency that is dealing primarily with septic. And if we alter the plans or alter the use of the building, we run the risk of compliance issue or having to underutilize a facility. So I think the only, unfortunately, and I say very much unfortunately, logical conclusion is compliance with the health department criteria for a meeting room. Otherwise, we're going to be sort of stuck in the middle of this in the future with regard to compliance or utilization, one or the other.
Right, it's up to the health department to determine how they're gonna rate it. Some of our buildings were higher, like, for example, the community center was higher because they had a restaurant or a kitchen in the basement, which that then rates them at a higher flow. But, like this town building didn't have as high a flow because it's just used for this. So it's up to the health department to determine what the flow rate should be for the spaces they're given.
They essentially do, whether it's logical or not, in the case of meeting rooms, is that it's not always logical. But we have no choice, but I think, to follow the rules of the agency which is in charge of this aspect of the project.
Right, so if we make their approval the condition on our resolution, then that's solved, it takes that into account.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It absolutely, because it may vary the septic systems.
Right, if the house
Design load,
requires a change.
Requires a change,
Reflected.
and it will be reflected in that. So that is procedurally a way to go as well.
Yes. That's actually the last of my notes on reviewing all of the documents that we received since last week, was that we have to make sure we put in the approval of subject to Suffolk County Health Department.
That makes a little bit of sense.
If there's changes that are required by the health department, is there going to be space constraints there at the library at the size of the property that there's really no resolution for?
Well, the sanitary design already includes expansion areas. When you design a sanitary system, you have to include in that design future expansion of that system in case something were to happen and one of your pools fails. They need to know that you have designated space to expand. Not necessarily that it's going to grow, but that you have, replacement areas in the future. So that's kind of already built into every septic design that the health department looks at, to the best of my knowledge. They have to designate specific areas.
And the well location relative to?
Right, well, that's all built in. The 200-foot setback between the well and the expansion areas is also included in its design.
Christopher, you had something you wanted to say?
Yes, just to clarify, all of those items are shown on the plan that you have, the site plan, the utility plan. So the location of the well, location of the sanitary system, how it's laid out. So all those clearances are provided to you. They're also provided to the health department so that they can make their determination. That's what we need to provide to them, show that design is compliant. So it's not it won't get past them if we don't comply, especially with those. So with regard to distances, they take a look at that. They've made comments on it and have provided requirements based upon that. So you'll have approved design based on all those requirements.
And in the correspondence we received back from you, this most recent package, you explained that you did field test all of the locations for the wells and septic systems in the area. You submitted that to the Department of Health. So that information should be accurate and
It's on pages C.
Yes, we didn't.
Or
But to clarify, we didn't test those wells. We just
No,
provide the
no, you just
locations
cite-
of them.
you cited them.
Yeah, they required us to do that, and we provided it. Yes.
That was one of Kim's questions last time, and you confirmed that that had been completed. Okay, so any other public questions before I take it back to the board on how we proceed? Okay, so I think we've had two items on the table. Do we finish the SECRA approval at the same time as we're closing this public hearing? And then the second one is the health department and being subject to.
I misunderstood.
A lack of planning on the architect or engineers is not our problem. We have to look out for the town. That's what we have to do. That's why we're sitting here.
Yeah.
A lack of planning on their part doesn't constitute an emergency on our part, unfortunately. I'm not trying to stand in the way of this, and I understand the library is under the gun with this, but.
Well, we were part because we instituted site plan review on not-for-profits, and they were going under the assumption that not-for-profits did not have to go through site plan review. So we did kind of introduce part of the issue. And then also when this whole process started, DASNY took lead agency on SECRA and completed SECRA. And now we had to redo SECRA because we need to be lead agency under site plan review. So they have already gone through one SECRA review with approval. So I'm just tossing that out there. So.
But we still have to finish ours
Yes,
before we
yes, we
can
do.
move forward.
Yeah, we do. But I'm just putting it all out on the table.
Kim, if I can just ask you a question for a moment. Can you explain what we have remaining for SECRA and what the steps are and what they mean so that we can better understand?
The only step remaining is the issuance of the determination of significance. So we are completing, we're near completion of the EAF Part 3 based on the 1031 resubmission. And we are in the process of preparing a determination for the board's review. We are recommending the issuance of a negative declaration. We have prepared a document that is going through all the criteria for determining the significance of the action. And once the document's complete, we will prepare that for your review. But that is our recommendation. That will be our recommendation to the board when we issue these documents to you this week.
Okay, thank you.
I hate to say this, we have to wait for that. What?
Okay.
I just want to clarify a couple of things here. In December of 2022, the town attorney told me and told one of our trustees that we would be a type 2 for DASNY. The town did not want to take lead agency for DASNY. And then a letter was issued saying that we were not subject to site plan review. So it wasn't an assumption. It was something based on emails and letters that I did receive from the town. So it wasn't a lack of planning on our part to do the site plan review at this point in time. If I had known in December of 2022 I needed to do that, we would have done that. And I just want to clarify that.
I mean, I'm okay with the help, issuing. I'm okay issuing our approval subject to the health department determination, that's fine. The secret thing, I think we have to wait for it. It's gonna be another week.
She said we should have it this week.
Yes, but our next meeting is
So-
not until,
The 19th.
yeah, because next week is Veterans Day.
I get it.
Unless we schedule something for next week.
That's your call.
I'm here.
I'm here on Monday.
The 11th,
What's that?
scheduling another meeting for next week so that we could continue to expedite this.
Yeah, I just think we need complete information in front of us.
You're only here on Monday, which is a holiday for
Which
the
is
town.
Veterans
We're
Day.
closed. Mhm. Your calendar, and I can't remember
Albert,
when
you're
you're,
not here.
I'll make your life easier. I won't be here.
Okay.
we need 3 of us.
Well, three of us can act. And do we have 4 is the question.
We need to, I don't know if we need to wait for the election results to be certified.
What's been
We
done?
couldn't do it today just because we don't even have absentee ballots counted yet, so
Yeah, that's true.
premature on that.
So really what we need is just this negative declaration that they're compiling and that we should have this week. Otherwise, and if we can get a copy of what was submitted to the health department for our records, get that, as far as that room goes. And,
Did we get it by Friday afternoon? No?
I mean, that,
I'm just pushing into
Yeah.
this week if you've got issues on scheduling.
but that's what I was saying, if it's closed to written comment and the written comment can come in and then we can have our discussion on it, that should close all the open questions. And then at the next meeting, we can make our determination, because we'll have all those things.
Oh, the next meeting on the 19th?
Right.
That would be better.
You know,
Is that what?
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying, could we do this on Friday? Kim, do you think by Friday we'd have the report?
Yes.
Here.
Easy.
No.
You said you were gonna be here Monday, so.
Yeah.
Albert, are you here Friday?
No.
I have yours now.
Could be if I had to be. But if it's 3 of us, Albert's not here.
Right.
I could come back for it.
Noticing?
Well, that's, yeah, and that's.
If it was gonna be this Friday, the 8th, like noticing. Special meeting. We won't be able to get it into the paper.
It's a paper, but it's a special meeting.
Mhm. So we just have to sign off on the waiver.
If you want me to do it Friday, I can.
We could do it late afternoon if that helps,
Yes, that would probably be helpful.
because it gives us a chance to receive Kim's report, get it posted online, read it in the morning, early afternoon.
I can do it if you make me.
The other option is to close it today based on written comment and then do the whole thing on the 19th. Like, if we close the hearing now, then we can receive the documents and then we'll have time to really look over them and then we can discuss them with our resolution on the 19th.
That makes much more sense.
Okay.
It's more time.
And when the hearing's closed, Terry, you can tell Dasney it's closed.
Right.
And then we can finish it up on the 19th when everybody's had time to look at everything.
If we get to the point where we can't have approval on the 19th, we can make the DASNY December printing and get approval from or get reapproval from DASNY in December. And then hopefully close late December, early January with that. Pay some bills.
Albert, are you okay with that plan?
No.
Either
Friday or the 19th.
But, you know, I mean, I'm just one person here.
Well, it's gonna be, it's gonna be a negative declaration, which means that there's no further secret review after that point. It's not like it's gonna be a positive that then it's gonna go into a further deeper.
It's a
secret
procedure,
dive.
Meg. You're not gonna
It's-
convince me. I'm just where I am. That's all.
Yeah, and it's,
I'm not trying to be difficult. I just think we have to follow the procedure here. That's all.
I want to be sensitive to the library's situation, the contribution we made to the situation.
I'm not trying to look at it like that, I mean.
Yeah, no,
What
but I
we
mean-
need to do for the town.
Yes, we're doing, yes, we are, but we are doing what we need to
Falls
do
a
for the
crack.
town, and it's gonna be a neg deck, so.
Yeah. I agree with Albert on the procedure side, that's my problem, that's where I'm stuck,
Mhm.
because going forward, we can't be making exceptions all the time.
No.
But what part of the procedure is not, I don't know that meeting has to be, the hearing has to be open to get the secret. Where does it say that?
Not sure we can bring.
Because that doesn't seem like it's
It says you can't
procedurally
close. What it says is you can't close it without secret.
Doesn't make sense though.
Indeed. I'm not lawyers. Steve will have to look into this when he's back from Secretary and Planning Commission. I'm going to suggest that we close the hearing subject to written correspondence through the 14th, just to be consistent with the last one. And if Stephen researches it and thinks that we have gone forward in the wrong direction, we can reopen the public hearing.
Now, what's the urgency here? You said DASNY, at one point in the last hearing, you said that DASNY would have preferred this to be kicked to January.
Well, the last time I spoke to them, they'd like to move forward, the library would like to move forward so that we can pay some of the people that are giving us the services to do this project. You know, the longer we don't move forward with this, the more taxpayer money is wasted. It's just, we need to move this forward. And DASNY will most likely wait. I don't think they're going, I mean, they've withdrawn our funding. So we have to go through the whole process again, which is another, adds another several weeks to the process. So just trying to move this along so that we can get this done after way too long. This should have, we should have been able to do this in August, and now we can't, so.
Yes, I don't see Steve as being a requirement of closing a hearing. We'll have Stephen, you can have Stephen look at it, it doesn't read as.
But if we reopen it, what position does that put the library in? After going to DASNY and saying, hearing was closed, let's go, and then we reopen it.
So it's subject to, written comments through the 14th. So that would be like, don't go to DASNY until after the 14th, where we come back and we'd say we've gotten to this point and we're not going to reopen it.
DASNY will not schedule until you have approved the site plan.
That's the 19th.
So if that's the 19th, we'll make their deadline to be able to be in the next month. If it's the 24th, then we're skipping over to January.
Let's get rid of January, doesn't mean nothing's endangered, it's just that the time just gets longer. That's the schedule gets elongated.
And they continue to incur costs that they need the funding to.
Yeah, this is true. So if we pose subject to written correspondence, that being secret and input from Stephen on whether or not we could do this at all.
And getting P 1.00 updated
Yep.
for what was submitted to the health department.
Let's be very specific about what closing subject to.
Well, written correspondence would also include if there's any other comments from the public.
Well, yeah. We're closing subject to X, Y, and Z, not limited to.
Yes. We've got 3 things. Are we missing anything?
The revised plan for the health department, the secret, and the condition of the health department, so, or both the neg deck.
Well, the
Yeah,
revised.
the neg deck. Steven signing off on
Okay.
the neg deck at the same time. Yeah.
And if we get all those, then we can schedule for the 19th and then do it all in one shot, and we will have all of the information.
Yes.
Okay. I don't like it. But,
Okay.
So Robert's in there.
All right, so I'll make that motion.
Can you say the motion?
Okay, so the motion is to close the public hearing subject to written correspondence through November 14th. And I don't know if we need to put in the resolution, that we expect to get P100 updated, what was submitted to the health department, the secret determination from PW Grosser, and Stephen signing off on passing the neg deck on secret at the same time.
Yeah, we should put that in motion.
Okay.
It'll make me happier.
Okay.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you.
Is there a way to vote unhappy?
I'll put it in the minutes.
It'll be noted in
Yes, it'll be noted.
the minutes in the discussion. Okay, all right, so that concludes the special, oh no, I take that back.
There's a resolution,
We have
right?
2 resolutions.
Yeah.
Okay. We have Kramer, and we have Justice Court Assistance Program. Who wants to start off? You want to start off, Albert? It's on the second page.
Whereas 62 Winthrop LLC, care of George Kramer, 57 Winthrop Road, petitioned the town of Shelter Island to construct approximately 237 feet of stone retaining wall using 25-pound to 2,000-pound stone placed on filter cloth, construct a new 35-inch by 14-foot level walkway leading to existing 35-foot by 24-foot ramp, and construct 3-foot wide pedestrian access stair as per plan submitted by Costello Marine dated March 21, 2024. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 6th day of November, 2024, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to NYCRR 617.5, Section C, number 2, this application is deemed a type 2 action. Reasons supporting this determination: the proposed construction, number 1, will not cause an obstruction into navigable channels or an interference with navigation. Number 2, will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or land under town waters. Number 3, will not adversely affect shellfishing grounds or other aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. Number 4, will not adversely affect the quality of the tidal waters, shoreline, or beaches. Number 5, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per specifications filed, subject to the receiving DEC permit approval, and after said applicant pursuant to section 53-9 of the code of the town of Shelter Island has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 liability insurance on the location and operations covered by said permit, a copy of the contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by and said permit that said contractor has an owner's contractor policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island for the liability limits of at least $500,000, covering operations of the contractor pursuant to said permit, and be it further resolved that said operations shall be completed within 1 year from the date of issuance of this permit, and permit is subject to and recommended limitations and any requirements that may be necessary under the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, and any other agencies having jurisdiction. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Be it resolved that the resolution number 387, 2024 is hereby amended to read as follows. Whereas the Justice Court has requested permission from the town board to apply for the Justice Court Assistance Program for the year of 2024, and whereas the town board has approved said request, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shelter Island authorizes the Shelter Island Town Court to apply for a JCAP grant in the 2024-2025 grant cycle up to $6,766.92. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, I make a motion to close the special meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll now open the work session. And now this is where we have public comments on anything that is not subject to public hearing.
Nobody left.
Anybody in the Zoom audience? Okay. Since we have the second item on the agenda, site plan review, if the public hearing is closed, since it's not closed until 11:14, then we will take that off of the agenda for today. And- I'm sorry, what?
No, that's it. I'll skip the next one too.
No, we can't. I purposely put it up higher because we keep letting it drop. And, to keep moving forward. So, Coco and Lena, job it is to track all of the changes, pull together this handout. Coco just finished it up just before we met at 1 o'clock. So we have a draft timeline on where how we think we'll go forward. So we're hoping that we're going to, in the next half hour, whatever, finish chapter 10 edits. Also review, which we've got, they've taken copious notes on changes that we made, suggestions, the edits that need to be reviewed, and then also promises made by various members of the town board who have said that they would rewrite certain pages and things. So we have that to go over as well, but not in great detail. And then on the 26th, because I don't want to, we were going to submit the edits, all these edits that got, plus anything we come up with today, as well as any of the rewritten sections we're all submitting, so that Coco and Lena can pull them together. So we'll want to get we'll want to submit the edits for the two of them by November 26th. And then
Now, we're gonna review all those edits before they go and make changes, like official changes.
Yes, yes. So we'll go, yeah, that's where town board just, yeah, we submit the final edits on the 12/3.
Oh, got it, okay.
Yes, so we'll go through them on the 26th, and then the editing chapter 11, because it's based upon everything that we've changed, added, amended in chapters 1 through 10, we'll go through in work session on December 10th, the chapter 11 edits. We'll complete anything that's still open on the 17th of December, and then Coco and Lena will work on getting all of those incorporated before sending it back to BFJ to make a final copy on this beautiful copy, sort of a markup copy. And then we would, so they would look at it for the first couple of weeks in January. Town board approves final copy to BFJ. So Coco will get those to us, so we'll look at it before it goes actually to BFJ. And after that, we'll approve, like, okay, this is our final draft. It can go to the Suffolk County Planning Commission. We can publish for a public hearing on it, post the public hearing notice. We don't have dates on those yet, because we have to see how this whole process goes. And then we've got a tentative 45-day public comment and review period built in here. And then during the early part of the year, we will start to talk about the environmental assessment and the GIS. So while it's being looked at by Suffolk County Planning Commission, we can start to get that ball rolling. We think a 6 to 9 month timeframe on getting that done. So that's sort of the current timeline. And then,
Is there any way to move that up? Because the process, scoping some of that GIS has to do with us finishing, but,
yeah, so I think that'll start in January.
oh,
So
okay.
while the, final edits are being made to the document and getting everything cleaned up, before it goes, we'll start working on it then. So, but that'll be January. Like, we need to finish our review by the end of the year. And then we can start to go back through and say, okay, what would be the scoping? And go chapter by chapter on scoping.
Okay.
And you'll see we have all of the pages and sections noted, what chapters, and which town board member. So just to, start at the top on page 58, and actually, we had gone over chapters 1 through 3. Was there anything that had to be incorporated in here, or?
I didn't include that in here.
But there are not as many as.
There's not as many, okay.
There were,
Just a few.
right, just the parts, there were 2 or 3 that were open to discussion.
Yeah.
But the rest were just edits you'd already gotten from Albert and Bennett.
Yeah.
So
And it's made on the fly.
I can tell you which ones you wanted to discuss now or email
No,
it to you.
what I want you to, if you could just incorporate them into this.
Okay.
In this chart, so that when we go through this on November 26th, this will be our hit list. So
Yes.
these are all the open items, these are all the things that we need to receive the copy and then review. So if I write something, the other board members need to say, oh, okay, like, yes, or let's tweak it this way. So
Okay.
this will be our hit list.
Right, I'll add it to this and then everything's in short form
Mhm.
under track changes.
Yeah.
On top.
Yeah, okay. But as you go through it, you'll see like, okay, so on chapter 4, page 58, Benjamin, you were gonna rewrite a new paragraph to replace. So we just need to make sure that you've submitted that and send it to Coco. And then she'll make sure that we have it all in one place for us to review. Because I think you did send us some things, and so it's I'd have to go searching.
But I have to find it myself.
Yeah, I'd have to go searching in emails, and we may, collectively find it, but. So that's the plan on continuing to move this forward. And you'll notice I put it on early in the agenda, so we couldn't skip over it. So that being, yes, because we keep doing that, so it's like, all right, something else will have to get bumped. So we had gotten into chapter 10.
We stopped at page 176.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we got to the goals and stopped there. In almost a month since I picked this up, because I happened to start here on October
Me
8th.
too.
Yep, right, that's right, that's it.
Yeah, okay. So goal 10.1, the first item, continue to implement the ground and surface water management plan. We talked about taking out the reference to the ground and surface water management plan.
I'm not sure we need the paragraph at all, but well, let's go up to the heading. What do I have here? Ensure all shelter residents have ready access. Okay, yeah, not good.
Yeah, so I had for a rewrite, Shelter Island's ground and surface water management plan was intended to be the island's strategic plan for ground and surface water management. And while it needs to be updated and formally adopted, it is the primary resource for such issues. And then scratch the whole next sentence. That it's not, we're taking out that it's officially part of the comprehensive plan.
Take out the ground and.
Sure. I started to rewrite this and I crossed it out. So.
The rest of the paragraph or just the sentence?
Oh, the whole paragraph.
Oh.
But, hold on. Continue to make. Didn't we start talking about this?
Yeah, I think we did when we were referencing chapter 7.
Yeah, because that's my note here. Continue to make quality improvements. Yeah, read my handwriting. Found in chapter 7. I guess recommendations found in chapter 7. And the state that ground and surface water management plan intended to be the, I don't know if that's even true.
Right, this was supposed to refer to page 101,
Yeah,
under drinking water. Ben said he would rewrite since the ground and surface water management plan wasn't going to be included any longer.
is that on the list? Should be. It's on the list, I'll do it.
Where did I just put it?
176.
And you did write some things.
Yeah, it says on
Yeah.
page
I
106,
did.
chapter 7, that was 7, and then,
Is it, oh, it's,
yeah, page 170.
This is a suggestion.
on the list, it's page 101, left column, Ben will rewrite left column with the,
Which I did.
Yeah.
oh,
But that was for page 101, so we need to incorporate it here. How about this first suggestion? How about you and I sit down and go through this at some point? Because one of the things that I started to do is, if we're tossing out reference to the ground and surface water management plan, there are some things that were brought into that plan from other sources, like the USGS and things like that. So I want to go back and go to those documents. And I started to sit down and pull those to see what would we want to pull from there.
Oh, problem with that.
Okay, so maybe you and I we'll figure out a date to sit down
Okay.
and hash some of this out. So if we just put that down,
okay.
Ben and I to,
Did you send me something and I didn't get it? Oh, no.
No,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, there are, I don't know if you have, if I didn't give you the edits and rewrites, this page for pages 101 and 106, I'll make a copy after the meeting and get
Okay,
these.
great.
We haven't reviewed those, though.
No, and that's what we're gonna do when we go
Right.
back on the
Okay.
26th. So all of the recommendations on page 176 we can review those while cross-referencing,
Oh, both of those.
yes, to the underlying sources in the ground surface water management.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta double X to that one, so. Okay. So we have to sit down and do that.
Yes. Okay. Rule 10.2 or 10-2. I was hoping, Meg or Benjamin, that you could update, because it references the ETIP grant. So there has been progress made on this, so.
Yeah, they're going to be getting ready to start giving us some presentations on some of the information that they've gathered. So. Yeah, I mean, so this will be.
Or you went to Alaska.
Yeah, so they'll be giving us recommendations on like the best buildings for us to consider making resiliency hubs. And so they're gonna be giving us some of that information. They're working on the re-op right now, which is the analysis that kind of determines the cost benefit for the town. So, you know, they'll be giving us some presentations on all of this.
So I guess the question is how do we incorporate that?
I don't know that we need to incorporate it. It's like the next phase of this goal.
Okay.
Because once they give us the report, then we'll also be able to go and pull information from other sources to see, you know, how that could impact a facilities master plan or a needs assessment or, you know, any future planning in the town. It would kind of give us that information. Or if we wanted to partner with someone like the school or, you know, other entities, it would kind of be like phase 2 would be, what do we do with all the information now that we have it?
Okay, all right, so I'm crossing out update for progress.
So this stays as is? Okay.
We're not updating it though.
Yes, we're not.
Okay. Just we're
You
not.
didn't miss much while you walked out in the water. Anything else? I didn't have anything else on page 177.
I didn't have any comments. No.
78. I was looking at goal 10-4, just thinking about like fast charging. You'd mentioned that comment about upgrading.
Yeah,
Do we
we
want to
definitely need one.
incorporate adding something, upgrading to, I just don't know the wording since I don't have electric.
Yeah, we can just say vehicle fast charger. People will know what that means.
So just add fast in between vehicle and charging?
Yeah, or DC fast charging as opposed to AC.
Is that, you're talking about the second column?
Yep, 10-4.
10-4.
So explore the possibilities, what,
Of electric vehicle fast charging stations.
How are we gonna handle those in terms of fees or not?
We had recently, once our original grant on the charging station that we have over between PD and Justice Court, that does now charge customers.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it got turned on. We had to do a tweak at one point because I think the first couple of people there was a flat fee per hour charge as well as the kilowatts charged. And someone, like, since it's a slow charger, was on for 3 hours and the flat fee, like, there's no point in having an electric vehicle if you have to pay that much. So we got rid of the flat fee or reduced it considerably. So there was a little learning curve on that one. but we did pull electric bills to make sure that we were using the right per kilowatt or whatever it's called, charge.
I do think that the last sentence in that paragraph in, under the 10.4, we could probably get rid of the last sentence. Another opportunity would be to install an EV station at the town recycling center. I don't think we need it because it already says to look at public spaces like schools, libraries, community centers, and parking lots, so that just seems a little random. And I don't know if it would be the most efficient place.
Yeah.
How long
Also-
people hang out at the
Yeah.
recycling center.
It'll be good for the tickers, we'll all get to leave.
Yeah. That's, could be an incentive.
Take out that last line, but
It's that last sentence, yeah.
I'm on to page 179,
Yep, me too.
and I don't have any comments.
One worry, 179.
Mhm.
One.
10.6.
Yeah. You have anything in
You have something on 10.6?
Just me, it could be just semantics though. Hmm. Just give me 1 second. Haven't looked at this in a while.
Yeah.
Guess one of the things, a community character. Okay. Do we have a homeowner manual now?
We do have, yes, we do. It's actually a pretty good document. He's
Oh,
on
this
page
one,
179.
And what do we do if someone buys a house, we send it to them?
No, that's part of the problem is we just don't, we have it, it's on the website, it's pretty comprehensive actually, but nobody gets it or looks at it or sees it.
I have some printed out, so when people do come in as new homeowners, we do try, or if they have questions, we try.
Yeah, because it is a really good resource. It'd be nice to have maybe a more interactive version of it or something. I don't know. Because it does have some good information on it. There are a few things that need to get updated. But, you know, it really is good for people who are new to the island or have been here forever and just kind of.
So we need to find a way to share it.
Yeah.
I mean, when people come in and record a deed, I mean, when do we know?
It's something that we could probably, like, I think what we should start doing is maybe making a list of topics that we can have as a banner on the website and then maybe rotate them out each month or something. So that could be a good one in the summer months when more people are out and just to remind them, I mean, because that's when they're paying attention to their house and we're doing work on it and it's nice outside. So it could be a good way to get people interested because it talks about irrigation and it talks about lawn care, it talks about fertilizers, it talks about septic maintenance and well maintenance and so maybe we can come up with some kind of way to email blast it out or I don't know how many people have signed up for Notify Me, but maybe we could.
That'd be
Send
put on
out
the
a-
website?
Huh?
It'd be put on the website?
It is on the website.
It is
Yeah,
now.
it
Okay.
is.
Probably no downloads.
But yeah, that's the thing. If people just don't know
Yes.
it's there, you know,
Yeah.
I think it's on the CAC page and it's on,
Or a separate category?
Yeah.
It-
yeah, make it,
Yeah,
you know, I'd like to make like a
More
whole other
accessible.
resources page
Yeah.
or something.
yeah,
That's,
I like that.
Realtors?
yeah, you know,
Give it to the realtors?
yeah, or even the building department to hand out or something.
Good.
Just to help educate people on the uniqueness of Shelter Island and recommendations.
I mean, in every transaction, is there always one on-island attorney involved? Because we can certainly talk to them.
We can talk to them. I mean, I don't
Mhm.
know that there's always,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
typically there's at least
Probably
one, I would
predominantly,
think,
but-
yeah. But yeah, that's something that I think we could really do better on getting the word out about, because it is a great resource.
That was that.
On page 180,
Sorry,
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
Amber.
Nope.
Should we make a note that we have to be better at disseminating this information?
Yeah,
I mean, look, I just sent it to you and I'll post it. It, you know, as an, notify me, it was last updated in 2020, so, yeah, I think that's a good idea, but I just sent it to you guys, so you can look at it.
I think it's kind of a two-phase problem. I think the first step we need to do is get more people to sign up for Notify Me. I think the more people we can get signed up to receive notifications and information, the better. So we might actually need to do like a hard mailer out to people, showing them how to sign up. Maybe with like a QR link or something so they can do it quickly. And I think once we do that, then it'll be easier to help like disseminate some of this information and maybe just pick like a topic a month that we can educate people on. I don't know, but it might help just get people interacting with the website more and kind of staying more in the loop.
Now, go to page 180? Okay, so on page 180, harden and improve communication systems. What I want to do is rewrite the second paragraph because we do have this study with Cityscape. So,
Did we move forward?
yeah, we did.
Okay. My brain was blank. I was like,
Yeah, they're
we
supposed
talked
to be
about
up
it.
here soon. I think they were
Okay.
supposed to come at one point, but then with the two hurricanes, because they're based out of Florida.
Yeah.
They got delayed and then actually the contract didn't ever make it to them in the mail, so I had to resend it recently, so that should be starting soon. But I can take that contract and kind of just rework this a little bit to cover
Where
that.
is that in Warren?
Page 180, under harden and improve communication systems. I think that it'll be the second paragraph that I'll be rewriting. We have a meeting next week. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm fixing a lot of element list.
I'm done with chapter 10. Me too. Anybody else?
What is it, the, continue to improve recycling center and waste management systems? What is the status? Is Ken working on that, or what is kind of the latest status on that? In terms of what are we gonna do?
I mean, I saw Ken like in the wild and I asked him the other day. But we should have him come and say something. Is he still on?
He is.
Yeah,
Just find something.
They updated the solid waste management plan in what, 2020 or 2019, which included like the provisions on how to kind of phase into whatever happens with Brookhaven. And I know that Suffolk County as a whole and most of Long Island is looking into how to handle Brookhaven. And I know that there was one proposal to make it more of a transfer station instead of like the actual like dump, for lack of a better term. So, because it's a countywide problem. So
Yeah.
they're working on it as well. And I know Ken's been attending meetings about that and the transition and how it's gonna
Okay,
go.
that's good.
So
I
it
mean,
is
just
something
so,
that's actively worked on.
Yeah.
Also, he has a good update on the picking thing too,
Mhm. Yeah.
which I think everyone would benefit from, because when he told me, I was like, oh, great, that sounds good.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the beginning of the year, Ed Ramey pulled in all of the supervisors, not only from Suffolk County, but Nassau County as well. And was told to bring somebody who could understand and speak to solid waste management. So Ken went with me. And so there have been continuing forums taking place. Fortunately, supervisors were told they were released from having to attend unless they really wanted to. But Ken has continued to go
Okay, all right, good.
town. And so there's been letters sent up to the governor to consider a couple of things, because some of the things that's getting pushed down from the state will harm us in the short term while we're trying to work on getting things refigured. So it's a lengthy process, but it does continue. So yeah, maybe after the next one, Ken could come back
Okay.
and give us an update or something.
It is a looming issue.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, and the amount, there's talk, there needs to be some sort of rail solution, because if you just have all of these trucks now, like carting everything off the island, like we might still be able to take it to a transfer station up island, but then it's going to then be continued to truck, and who knows if they'll even, Brookhaven or whoever will want to.
We already have so
Let
much
us-
road congestion.
Yeah.
It's like,
And wear and tear.
yeah.
Just pick trucks up. I'm good with chapter 10. Well, oh, you got more.
Explain this. Consider appointing a town recycling coordinator. Isn't that what, so that's not part of Ken's job?
It is, but one of the thoughts was that depending on how Brookhaven rolls out, there may be a push to come up with more creative recycling concepts, which may require an additional part-time person to help manage. So depending on how things go, if it's one of those things where we now start trying to recycle C and D in a different way, or however we go about trying to minimize our waste stream, might need a new person, or it might be that it could be someone that Ken appoints from his staff to kind of take on a role. It's just a thought that you might need someone who's a little more focused on just that, depending on how things shake out in the future.
I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, it's not like a necessary thing, but it's one of those things where it's something that we could think about if it becomes more of a cost savings to really recycle more efficiently. It might be worth hiring someone to just focus on that.
Okay. And I like how you use the fireworks. Now that we're at the end.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, so that's the comp plan piece for today. So at your earliest convenience, Coco, if you could recirculate, and if we need to sit down to just, go over those early chapters, just to make sure we've covered everything.
Gonna have to excuse myself.
Okay. The next item on the agenda was community development block grants.
Yeah.
And so we had a public hearing for the last town board meeting, and there were no suggestions by the public, right? Which usually they all come from internal, but it is part of the county's process in awarding these grants that we do have a public hearing on it. But now that we closed the public hearing, we have to look at and do a resolution before December 1st.
So we have no suggestions when you apply for this, but you have to say, we want the money for X.
The public didn't have suggestions.
Right, but we do.
We have suggestions.
We have suggestions.
So one of the things was Liz Hanley, the chair of the Community Housing Board, she came and asked if we could, and she had done a little bit of research, if a Community Housing Board survey on housing needs would qualify. So that in order to update the community housing plan on the 5-year schedule, she'd like to start working on a survey next year so that we can get that information incorporated in the next plan update. So the estimate on that is $30,000. And then Ken is still on. We do need to install an ADA ramp at Goat Hill. Because right now, if you want to get into Goat Hill in your wheelchair or, physically challenged in any way, I think they take a golf cart. Well, actually, Ken, you probably can describe it better because you've seen it in action. There's something about taking a golf cart up to the practice tee or the first tee, and I'm going to let you go, Ken.
Yeah, what they do right now is they take a golf cart up to the first tee, and then they walk the individual, or if they have a wheelchair, I guess, they bring it up there and then they roll them or walk them to the side of the building where there's just a short ramp that we actually built when we did the renovation on the deck and the porch around the building. So that's the one method that they have right now for getting ADA access to that. So I'm hoping that we're going to try to, I've been speaking with Joe Fenora about our options, and we're going to try to do something on the staircase side of the building that exists right now, right near the handicap parking spot, which is on sort of the north side of the building. So that's our plan to try to, Joe thinks we may be able to get either a switchback or maybe just a straight ramp shot right up onto the porch on that side, where we'd eliminate the staircase basically and just have a ramp.
So Ken, the estimate that I had from you initially was 20,000. I don't know if you've refined that at all?
It's I haven't. I was trying to talk to. I was waiting for Ronnie Anderson to return. He's been our, he is our main carpenter in our maintenance department, and he's done a lot. He did all the work at the Legion that you guys see on the ADA ramp that was on the front of the Legion. So I just wanted to confirm with him, because it's about that dollar amount. It's roughly, we'd be talking about the same materials that ramp was built out of, which matches the materials that we used on the porch around the Goat Hill.
Now, a little bit of the challenge here is we have to submit this by December 1st. And then Suffolk County works on it and prepares the 2025 annual action plan from December through March. And then it gets sent back to us, sometimes March, sometimes closer to June, what they're going to approve. So and then there's more, this isn't built into this form that I have, but then they close out 1 year and then start the next year. So we wouldn't be able to start this project until September. So we would lose a year, but we didn't put it in the budget because we had potential funding. I just wanted to put that out there.
And are there limitations on what these grants can be used for, such as?
Yeah.
So
it has to be used for housing, it can be used for seniors, ADA. So pretty much those categories. And there's, a little bit of more detail in there, but they have to fall into those parameters. And also CAST, that was the last one. When I was checking in with Barbara earlier on this, I had put down 5,000 in my original, but something that she preliminarily kind of ran past the county was a total of 65,000, and what I have only total is 55,000. So I was going to suggest we take the CAST one up to 15,000 so that we get up to the 65,000. We're doing 5,000 this year, and it was actually the county who had some extra money, and we had been talking about CAST with them as an aside at a meeting we attended, and they were like, well, we got extra money, so if you'd like some money to give to CAST, we can put it in your budget, and then you can get it from us and give it to them. So it's how they have to funnel the money. So I don't think that they would have any issue with this, and I believe South.
What about the shelter and food pantry?
We could look at it, the shelter and food pantry. I guess we'd have to just check they're not for profit status, like if they're under the Presbyterian Church. But the mechanism is in place, which isn't easy, and it's serving the same community, but we could check into that.
I feel left out.
Amber, can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
Is that with the grant you were talking about before for the ADA, is it a reimbursable grant? Like, what if we were able to find the funding and do it this year? Would they reimburse us for that money or no?
No, you can't start the project until they open the contract year.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it would have to wait until September?
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But, so that's what I have on that. I wanted to see if any other thoughts. If we put this into our resolution and ask Barbara, we'll get started on the paperwork. We have our meeting on the 25th. Yeah, the 25th. So then she'll have the resolution the next day and she can submit to the county by their December 1st deadline.
I mean, traditionally, you get 50K a year.
We have started to ask for more. If in the, when I first got onto the board, it was like 13,000, 15,000. So we realized like, we're not asking for our fair share.
Yeah.
So if we, as we move forward on community housing, we did actually have them come in and talk to them and go over what we're doing there. And when we get close to shovel ready, like a year from now, we may be able to ask for a much bigger ask.
Right.
We just have to understand what conditions that and restrictions that ask will place on the project. And whether, depending on how we move forward with the RFQ, if it makes sense, or if whoever responds to the RFQ has the right funding in place and they can make it work financially. So there's a lot of moving parts, but it is something that we could ask for a bigger ask.
Yeah, nothing ventured.
Exactly. Yes.
Definitely wouldn't
Yes.
hurt.
But we're not close enough with the shovel ready. They want us to be much further along. But as we move forward and start to, set up contracts and, get ready to send out the RFQ, they have told us, send it to us because we will make sure, we'll review it to see if you've got something in there that would automatically disqualify you from the get-go, and it's an easy fix.
Mhm.
So we will be doing that with them.
Okay.
We'll bring them in too.
That's good.
So I'll have Barbara get started on working this up and we'll get the resolution prepared.
Sounds good.
Yes. Yeah.
Random question. I know that the senior center was looking at another vehicle. Did we sort that out? Is it something that this money could be used towards?
We can ask them. I feel like that got bumped to.
I feel like it got bumped to next year or the
2026.
year after,
Yeah,
but
no,
I just
it
wasn't
in
sure.
2025's budget, so I think
Yeah.
it got bumped to 2026. And we also have to look at the entire fleet because there may be something that gets pushed out.
Right. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, they were going to, this fall, I think they're supposed to be testing out one of the vehicle that gets used by traffic control.
Yeah.
To see how that works, so they were gonna use that through the winter.
To see if it suited their needs.
Yes, yeah, if it's a low enough profile, easy enough to get in and out of.
Okay.
Next one is WQI rebate. You have to
I will
read.
recuse myself and you can look me up.
It's just the one. And so this is the one we talked about, I think 2 work sessions ago. This was a request by the homeowner who had received a grant for $8,000 in total. We had reduced the grants at the time, pre-COVID, to $6,000 is the base grant, with $2,000 for income modification, income qualification, I guess. And their project ended up coming back and was expensive because they had to do a well relocation, things like that. So they, even though they closed out, let's see if I have when they closed out. I'll find that in a second. But so when we last spoke, the question was if when we had upgraded the grants from 6 to 12,000 base grant, we had gone back and anybody who had not started their project yet, we went back and upped their potential grant in a blanket resolution to give them more money. We did not go back and give it to people who closed out their grants, but they have come back and asked for it. And so WQI had recommended that we up their 6,000 base to 12,000 base, so that's plus 6. And we no longer have income assistance, which they had received 2,000, but we do have well relocation, 4,000. So they said, why don't we give them an additional 2,000 to sort of take them up to what the current $4,000 well relocation is.
And how long since they closed out?
So So their application, their project hadn't started.
Their project's completed.
No,
It's completed, but I
Yes.
mean,
They started it, they got their rebate approval when we were at 6,000, and they completed it before we got up to the 12,000. But let me just find their name quickly on the spreadsheet.
Carsec?
Yes. They were approved March 5th, 2021. They completed their grant was paid out on June 22nd, 2021. And they received 15,000 from the county, 10,000 from New York State, 8,000 from us, but their total project cost was 58,000 because they had some complications on their site. So the question is if we open, so when we last had this conversation 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, was how many other grants who received that reduced grant, during that reduced grant period, what's, potential that could come back and ask us also. And so I went through and also looked at the dollar amounts. I didn't have detailed information on total cost for a couple of them, but there's 10 potential people who could come back and make this ask. I didn't count somebody who was like $100 out of pocket. And the total cost estimate is about 62,500.
62?
62,500 if all of these people were to come back to us.
So at the time that they applied, were approved, built their system, closed out, got paid, they got all the money that was available at the time.
Yes, what they were
So
approved for.
Then we got more funding later and we changed the program.
Yes.
And they're coming back to say, hey, give us more money.
Yes, we saw that you allowed people who had been approved at the same time as us, not completed, get a bump up. So. I mean, that's always been my concern is this additional exposure of 62,500.
Yeah. I mean, they went ahead with the installation and the grant funding available to them.
Yeah, I think because of the date, like I see the timing being March and then completed by June, I suspect that they were probably an emergency situation and voluntarily upgraded to an IA system instead of just replacing the conventional system.
I wasn't speaking just to these people, but in terms of everybody.
Oh, yes.
Potentially on the list.
Yeah, all 10 of them.
If you make an exception for one, then you open, I don't know, just raising the concern.
Yeah, that was my concern and why at the time.
That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't mean to be, I don't want to, I understand their predicament, I feel for them, but they got all the money available at the time.
Yeah, that was the program in existence at the time. Yeah. Okay, so we will not approve this?
That's where I am.
What for, and then they lowered the price.
Yeah. Yeah, I bought a house and then the market tanked. My property wasn't worth as much anymore. Okay. So next on the agenda is Lopez Wetlands application. Lopez.
Right here.
Let me see if I had notes.
Yeah, so I didn't really have much on.
I didn't have much of a problem with this.
The only comment I had was secret, but
Well, no, we do have a topic on here.
oh, yes, you do, actually.
Just remember, let me pull up my notes, because it came from
Yeah. Teresa.
Teresa's memo to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Her suggestion, which is something that other towns do, is they have a formal protection of the vegetated buffer,
Yes, a covenanted.
wetlands preservation
Yeah.
area, and naturally vegetated wetlands, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer.
I was gonna ask to put that as a,
We just have to, what I just want to understand is, if we're saying, yes, we want to do this, what are the implications to the homeowners? If they're putting a covenant or a deed restriction, and unfortunately, we don't have Stephen to,
Yeah, kind of what's the process,
Mm-hmm.
procedure, and the implications is kind of the question. I mean, it's already an area that's regulated by the code, so.
yeah, I just, before we,
If the covenant doesn't add anything, the code covers it.
Right.
But the code can be changed, and, well, that actually is more of a problem than not. Because if the code changes and the covenant is still recorded.
Right, but then who
That's a
knows
problem.
unless you start and go looking for them. You know what, I mean, you know, when someone. It become complicated.
the covenants on the property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's sold.
You know, they buy.
You're gonna do a title report, you're gonna find it. So.
yeah, so the notes I have on this, it's like that, it's not a huge process, but it does require extra work for the town clerk, because that has to be recorded, I think, before we can issue the wetlands application. The town attorney will have to, you know,
It's a document. It's
yeah,
probably
but once we,
three pages.
I was gonna say, yeah,
The
once.
assessor's office as well, right?
Yeah, and then, I mean, the applicant has to get it recorded, so it could add an extra month to wetlands applications.
In terms of work,
Just getting the covenant recorded, and so
Okay.
us getting confirmation that has happened before issuing the wetlands permit.
Do we use a title agency for this? How do we normally do it?
I think what we need to do is
We don't normally do it.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
But other municipalities do. So I think what I'd like to do is pick this discussion back up, but I think it is worthwhile, like,
Definitely.
understanding what the process
Yeah.
is and what procedures and policy we'd be creating. It's not something that needs to get written into code. I think it's a policy. It gets written into each resolution on each wetlands application. So I'd like to sort of get it out there and share the process with the public, because while it's not something that needs to have a public hearing, I would like to give the public a chance to understand that this is a new policy we're starting to implement.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Comment on it, yeah.
Yeah,
But
I'd like to understand it better.
yeah, I need to understand better, but I just wanted to, like, that's the only thing on this application.
I mean, for whatever it's worth,
Mhm.
in the regular world,
Mhm.
this happens every day.
Yeah.
I mean, literally every day.
Mhm.
I mean, I've never done a land transaction where you didn't have 3 or 4 covenant documents in the title
Mhm.
chain.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, literally every day.
Mhm.
But let's see if it benefits us.
Yes, yes,
yeah.
what is it that we're trying to accomplish, like, what
Right.
will be the win?
Right.
But I do think it's worth looking into.
definitely worth pursuing.
So the question then is, do we hold off on approving Lopez? Or do we go ahead with this one and future wetlands applications, maybe subject to this policy?
I think we go forward with this one because it's not actually
Yeah,
a policy change.
we're right here at the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
This is incredible to the issues of the Lopez
Yeah, right,
application.
yes.
Yeah.
It may be some policy that we decide not to adopt in the end, who knows?
Mhm.
But, you know, I don't think it's gonna make or break this application. It's such a minor application for what they're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There's no,
I wouldn't hold it up for
Yeah.
us deciding whether or not we want
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, they got their notice of disapproval April 27th, 2024. And in the transition of jurisdiction from planning board back to us, and us hiring the environmental consultant, it's taken a while for us to like start moving on wetlands applications, so. Okay, all right, so then,
The only other thing that she had said was, on the additions,
mhm,
you know, that leaders and gutters are installed to direct the water to,
Dry wells?
dry wells, yeah.
They
I
should
think
have
that's
to
a
do
good-
that. Look, they're near shore
Mhm.
overlay, it's in the
Yeah.
code, so should enforce it.
But just in the resolution.
yeah,
Can we reserve the right to ask Lopez to take on the covenant with, you know, if we decide to do so in the next 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is?
Really. Retroactively go back to them after we pass the
Well, it's
resolution. and they get a
it's
permit.
condition of the approval.
But it's not something that we are definitely moving forward with, it's something we're considering.
Yeah, but if we don't do it, we don't do it.
we'll ask Stephen. If
Yeah,
there's
I
something that
just-
he can put in
yeah.
that would legally hold up.
Yeah, seems. It's like adding a hypothetical into a resolution. I don't know how.
Well, I'm just thinking like,
Well, if we ask them within 90 days, they have to do it, and if it's beyond 90 days, then we're done. Sort of self-expiring. But ask Stephen. But
But if
I
we've
don't
already-
wanna hold it up.
yeah, I mean, but if we've already issued the wetlands permit, then what kind of teeth do we have?
Right, that was kind of my thing, is if
Yeah.
we've already issued the permit, given them permission to do the work, then at that point, do we really have a grounds for going back and being like, oh, I know we've already said you can do all this, but now we also want you to do this too? And they're like, yeah, no, you've already issued the permit, I've already done the construction.
Well, there are ways to structure it, but we'll see.
I mean, that just
Yeah,
sets to set a
sure.
precedent that's,
Well, it's a good precedent, because we can still move forward on stuff while we're still considering things that might benefit the town.
Mhm.
But, and if we go ahead with it, great, if we don't, then it goes away. Well, ask Stephen, he may say no.
And so Teresa did have 5 things in here. So we'll have them all 5 incorporated, which is demolition and reconstruction of the existing dwelling is strictly prohibited. So if they
yeah, tear
tear
down
down
the
the
whole
building,
thing.
they have to come back. Installation of wire back silt fence, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
common, that we always put in. The additions, leaders and gutters will put in. The avoiding siltation of the wetlands and vegetative buffer shall stabilize all soils through the installation of landscaping, grass, seed mulch, and other material prior to issuance of the C of O. And then final inspection by town's environmental consultant is before they get to C of O. That's a common one that we do.
Or other town board designees, so it could be the building department if we so
Mhm.
chose. Because this doesn't really impact the land at all, this is more of it's an upward expansion of that house.
Mhm.
And then they want to pay an expert to say they did the construction on the house first.
Mhm. Yeah, the zoning board had the same thing about the downspouts. Are we good with that one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Budget adjustments. Stack on the table getting smaller, guys. This is great.
Let's throw that one out, yeah? But adjustments. Not sure what this rough like budget looking out.
Well, it's really just to discuss the public comments for today.
Okay.
So
The high water truck.
the high water truck and also Historical Society.
Yep.
So I think it's.
You already heard my piece of
Oh, yes. Yeah. And Amber, you and I were talking earlier, there's some grants through New York State Archives that we may be able to do some.
Partnership with them.
Yes.
And it kind of helps me out too, because you're eligible for more grant money to do more things with, but I really have to look into it because I only focused on mine, so I have to read into it. But the partnership with them, and it will kind of lead into a more formalized contract that we're looking for. And then it kind of won't leave them out for the year in hopes that we do get it. It's more than $15,000. Again, I have to read into it. It's completely different from partnership than what I was going to do on my own.
I think that's a brilliant solution to this problem. I mean, the way it was set up before was not okay. And the relevant list is piece of paper, you know?
Yeah.
That doesn't solve the problem, you know, one page.
It's not as detailed as we need it to be.
That's
right.
I think we can all work towards helping them and partnership and supporting them. I'm all for that. I'm not for cutting them a check for 15 grand every year because it's Tuesday.
The partnership grant could be more beneficial in the long run.
Yeah, and it's more money and it's let's just call it more sustainable.
I don't think it's fair to them to take this from them that they've had for 14 years.
Wasn't
I
fair
just
to the
think it's just-
taxpayers that they had it for 14 years. Where's our
I just think it's always,
$180,000?
we don't agree, but whatever.
I know.
I just, you're taking $15,000 and they have to figure their budget. And it's like arbitrarily not this year, right? Or at the end of the year. I just think that's.
Okay, I hear it.
I think it's unfair.
Well, I think we can help them in a bigger way, in a proper way, partnering with them on a grant, actually finishing the documentation we've been talking about for years for them actually to hold the records that are in the bottom of the police department. I mean, the records they're talking about were records we were throwing out, we said we didn't want, and they took them because they found them interesting, not because we asked them to take them. But I think we should work towards a real sustainable agreement with them, where we can legitimately pay them some money for the services. I'm all for that, 100%.
I think it's unfair to do this year arbitrarily.
I'm gonna get hate mail for this.
I think it's unfair, that's all.
It's not for 2025.
Sorry?
So they get the 15,000 for 2024, they just won't be receiving it for 2025.
Yes, correct. But we might, if we all work together, we can get that fixed too. So they're not gonna be out if we actually structure this properly. They can get their 2024 money, we can structure it properly going forward, and they'll get 2025 money as well. Got no problem with any of that.
So you're saying you're in favor of putting the $15,000 back in the budget?
That's not what I heard.
No.
No.
Not until, look, there's gonna be, what do you call it, excess, surplus?
Oh, there's contingency.
Contingency, there's gonna be contingency to cover it if we come to a sensible agreement and move forward with them.
So that was one issue from today, so we're.
I'm one vote, so, you know.
I just think we drew a line in the sand here arbitrarily, and it doesn't make sense to me, whatever.
Well, we went through the budget line by line, it's like, what's this?
No, you said what's,
Yeah, I said, what's this?
you said what's that. Let's be clear.
Yes, I said, what's this?
I think this, taking it out of the budget forces us to deal with it properly.
Exactly. And we should deal with it properly because I want them to get the money on a reliable basis going forward. Let's fix it. If you're gonna fix it, let's fix it.
Why don't we put it in the budget and then fix it?
Because it's been.
And have an agreement.
Fix it.
You know? I mean, we could do that, right?
It's just gonna sit there for you. If they don't get the money, then we're gonna all wanna work towards getting them the money. And it'll happen that way. Well, as soon as they get it, and no one's gonna talk about it again until next budget season. I hate being the bad guy here.
I agree with you.
Well, don't be.
Well, being the bad guy is actually being the good guy, because we're gonna fix it bigger and better.
I do question the legality of how it's been done in the past, so that's.
Try not to bring that up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw it out there, because I mean, that's why I'm agreeing with you, is I do, you know,
Because my position is it's
Municipalities have a
actually
different
been the legal
responsibility.
action of the town.
correct, correct,
So,
correct.
But, yeah, let's
It
fix
has
it.
nothing to do with the historical site. If this was happening to any organization, it would be the same question, so.
Yeah. And Amber, thank you for doing that research on trying to figure out how to partner with them for a grant. Because,
Stepping stone. Granted, it's more money. Right,
Yeah.
so it'd be more beneficial to them than just us. Than us. Okay.
Although, I mean, grants are one-time things generally, so
It's every so many years that
you can apply.
I don't want to speak upon it because
Like
it's different for historical. So they can apply every so many years and we can't apply so many years. I have to read it.
We'll hash it all out.
Read more.
Yeah. You can share it with us, we can look at
I
it.
have to do my more homework.
It's a good option to look into further.
He asked to keep the budget at 2.5%.
I don't know that that's actually feasible based on
wasn't the healthcare increase?
this over.
Yeah, well, I was starting to, and then just people kept coming in and talking to me with questions earlier today. Let me just go back
I
to
mean,
my
I think
cover
we
sheet.
all understand and agree with the sentiment behind it.
Mhm.
Yes.
I just don't know if it's actually a
Mhm.
realistic.
Yeah, because I mean, personnel services, was like 4%, and then where's my payroll taxes and employee benefits. The employee benefits, retirement, and health insurance. Initially, it was like 5.4%. I think it's down to 4.4% because we double checked all the health insurance numbers, but I'm going to double check those for, I think we have one more discussion on the 19th in work session before we adopt it in the special meeting on the 19th. I can't keep these dates straight. So I'll do a chart again. So yeah, 4.4% on employee benefit costs alone. So in order to get to 2.5%, we would have to slash positions, departments, services.
How did you come to 3.7 on the salary increase? Is that?
Cost of living.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
cost of living.
that's the official CPI from what?
That was where it was at, back in September. I haven't gone to see, like it had just gotten released the day before.
That's the official government number.
Yes, yes, and so each year we look at it based upon that sort of cutoff.
Okay.
And I think if we look at some of the positions, over the years because we held the line during that big, huge bump up year of 8% increases.
Yeah.
That some staff are not, they are behind. Like if you look at the salaries for, I think I did it with like the town board salaries. Like if we look at, where the town board salaries were 5-6 years ago and where they are today, the dollars don't equate.
Right. Yeah, when you run the inflation index based on.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because
So I
in
think-
2022, inflation was a
Mhm.
8% CPI and people did not get that. I think
Yeah.
we did what, 4?
We did 4.
So,
Yeah, and so inflation eased off a little bit, but not all the way back down to keep competitive. We'll get the information on the salaries put out there. Firewater rescue vehicle. That is in response to hazard mitigation and health and safety. We've got 93,000 in the budget for it, or 90, let me just look. But we have a grant also in there.
50/50 grant.
Yeah, 93,000 for the vehicle itself, grant for half of that. If we don't get that grant, then I don't think we'll move forward. We'll.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Did you apply for the grant then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And now who requested this vehicle? Was it the ambulance crew or the police department?
It was the hazard mitigation team, which encompasses
Both.
chief of police and EMS and.
Like if we get the grant, I mean,
And it was also in response to, we've been looking at road raising going out to Ram Island and also somewhat on West Neck Road as well. This is a way less expensive fix that might save lives, so.
And more timely, and, we can do this quicker than we can raise the
Right.
roads in both of those locations. And it's
Yeah.
much more cost effective with the grant. And part of the reason it came up is because we've had, just this year alone, I think there were 3 major flooding events that weren't associated with storms or anything, just very high tides that made it so that you couldn't get out to Ram Island and you couldn't get out to, what is it, Overlook area or?
Harborview Acres?
Harborview Acres, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's.
Up on West Neck, because it gets flooded on both sides and you can't go up.
You know where that is?
It's,
Terry Drive.
Terry, yeah, so, when it floods out that section of road, you actually can't get into that whole development area. So that was kind of a catalyst for looking at how can we get access if there is an emergency, if the ambulance is too low and can't drive through. I mean, you might be able to use one of the fire trucks, but if you don't have to put a fire truck through salt water, it's probably better.
And that's way more expensive.
It's, yeah,
It's a way more
exactly.
expensive vehicle.
So it was a kind of a compromise that, with grants is more affordable than some of the other options.
well, the question is, if we get a grant, then it's like a no-brainer. Of course we get the thing.
Yeah, if we don't get a
If
grant,
we don't
we'll
get
do
the
it.
grant, I think it can be pushed another year. and
Right.
look at it.
Yeah, we can always
Yes,
reapply and,
reapply and also, Christine, can I do a share screen just for a second, just to show the,
And we're also doing the surveying of the roads to see how high we'd have to raise them.
Yeah.
So that's in the works too. For the whole causeway and that West Neck section, how much would we have to raise it? What would that look like? What would it cost? All that.
so if you look up on the screen, this is a choke point here, where flooding happens on West Neck, and then there's also down in this area, flooding. And so there is supposed to be some sort of LIPA escape route over here, but it's difficult to get through.
Is it not maintained?
I
Does it
don't,
really
yeah.
exist?
So they would be included in, watchful eye on using that. Which I always, when I'm driving around after storms, I always get stopped here, and I've never thought to go around to see that it's flooded over here as well.
So cool.
raising special permit fees. I feel like we're having a fee discussion, but I think it has more to do with passing along costs for.
For the large
Green.
homes was kind of what he was.
Yes, yeah, I think we have the environmental consultant fees, but we can take a look at that and add that to the discussion.
Definitely makes sense.
Well, we have to go over the site plan fees anyway,
Mhm.
right?
And we
So
did put
can
something in there.
review- Yeah.
Yeah, we did put in an increase to cover that. Just how many will we get? But I don't think we can implement that fast enough to change the budget.
Right.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we do on the 19th. Yeah, very busy agenda again. Surprise, surprise. Site plan review fees, secret fees, and other professional expenses incurred during application process. It would be planning board, town board, and ZBA. So we do have it on there.
Yeah, I think somehow I saw myself off of,
Oh, yeah, you're missing.
yeah.
And then the comment about budget driven by expense reduction instead of looking how we can be more efficient. Again, it sounded like the suggestion was, we've got a building inspector who would just get redirected to building inspections only and bring in a planning person, so that's,
Maybe not a reduction.
no, that would be an increase unless we
Yeah.
get the reduction in litigation. That's always a tricky one.
Well, I think part of the problem is not necessarily, the building inspector or anything, it's cleaning up parts of the town code that are in conflict. So
Mhm.
some of the process and procedure that's outlined in the town code actually doesn't work in reality with some of the way the
Mhm.
secret process goes, or, so we just need to clean it up. And that would close some of those holes for litigation.
Yeah, we need to finish comp plan so that we can
Yeah.
apply for a grant to get
To
legal
get a
law
code
firm in to
specialist.
come in and clean up the entire code. So the staff were working on, there's 3 at this point, highway employees who wish to upgrade from, I'm gonna get this wrong, CEO to HEO or heavy equipment operator. So those changes are getting flowed through. So there'll be a few more tweaks, but we'll have those on the 19th. Shelby and I have come up with a spreadsheet to show all of the proposed adjustments. So that's all that I have on that topic. It is 4:15.
Is that in the budget, although that upgrade?
No, but it was only a few $1,000s because
Change of
like
class.
the increase in their hourly rate wasn't that much, but then there's a little bit of an impact on health insurance, retirement, payroll taxes. So,
I can make a case of in making things work more smoothly,
yes.
not the recycling side, yeah.
Yes.
We did also receive a request from an employee that we reevaluate their salary request.
Yeah, we need
Yes.
to do that.
That's probably an executive
Yes.
session comment, but I just wanted to
Yes.
make sure we didn't forget about it.
Yeah.
Got plugged in parking lot on that.
Yes. The next agenda item was the needs assessment. I have one proposal from an engineering consulting firm on the needs assessment, and I just want to circle back to another firm that we had spoken to as well to see if they want to submit something. So I'll
Need
try-
this facilities plan?
yeah, yes, it would be the start of the facilities master plan. It's just like first the needs assessment. But it gets us to a place where if we can figure out what the future looks like, then we can start to cite wastewater, water issues on the town, the
It
town
helps,
complex.
yeah, it helps to establish what the current conditions are, what the current needs are, and what the anticipated future needs might be.
Mhm.
So it'll help with planning things like wastewater and water and all that good stuff.
So that'll come back on. I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay.
Board member reports.
Anything else with this?
I've got a couple of things. I'm gonna start like just bringing this up. I'll probably do it at the beginning of some of our town board work sessions, just to get it out there. At the end of this year, we have Code Red, which is the emergency notification system. We are going to be discontinuing that because we have Notify Me built into the website. And so if there's ferry delays or closures, that can be blasted out like Code Red does. Flooded roadways, if there's limited access going out to Ram Island or the West Neck Road, like, hey, you guys, like, don't try and go through, you're gonna stall out, ruin your cars. Or it's coming, evacuate if you think you need to be out of the area. Snow emergencies, coastal storms coming, things like that. So we want to start getting people to get redirected to Notify Me because Code Red is going to be stopped.
Okay.
And Chief Reed is working with Julie Lane to have an article in the paper to talk about it, but I think we're also going to, put in display advertisement to, sort of like remind people like you need to do this and here's, why you should do it and, easy steps. If you go to the town website, you go to the very bottom of the website page, Notify Me is there.
Is that something we can put in with tax bills when they get mailed out? I remember there was like requirements on, like conditions on what you're allowed to enclose with the tax bill, but I wasn't sure if sharing a new way to get information from the town would qualify. Either that or maybe just doing a mailer to every post office box, giving them the information that we're transferring from Code Red to Notify Me. Here's how you sign up, maybe with a QR code, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to double check.
Yeah,
Because
I
there are
remember.
rules about what can go in.
Yeah, I remembered there were rules.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what they are, just that they exist.
But I'm just like, every meeting, just gonna, through the end of the year, remind people, sign up for Notify Me, especially the emergency piece of it. You don't have to sign up for all the town board meetings or all the committee meetings if you want to.
Right, sounds good.
I also spent time on the calendar for next year.
Yay.
So you received just prior to this work session from Amber. She made it look all pretty. So I looked at it so that I could like make sure we had town board meetings scheduled in the right places, all of the committee meetings, making sure there weren't any conflicts. So I've given it to Jess so that as she sits down with each committee, like she's taken into account. CAC was the first one.
Yeah, just
earlier this week.
gave me the calendar today. Hold on.
Was it for CAC?
It was for CAC.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things that, and that's why I did come after the election eve dinner, because I wanted to explain to the committee why they had 2 October meetings.
Right.
And what I was doing there. And it had to do with like plotting out the town board meetings, and if we have wetlands applications or site plan or anything like that, giving them the proper time period so that they would be able to review applications. So I gave them 2 meetings in October, 1 in November, and then December, nothing unless we have, like during that period, have something that's going to a public hearing that we need their reports on. So they were good with that. One of the things that Gordon has stated in his campaign is moving our work sessions to the evenings. So I did take a look at that. So what you have from Amber has them on Tuesday afternoons at 1 o'clock. When I went through to see if we could change them to nights, we have a lot of committee meetings, and so there's lots of conflicts. So as I started to look at it, in January, for instance, just to keep things somewhat consistent if we're going to do this, because right now people know our work sessions are at 1 o'clock on Tuesdays, and so they can plan accordingly. Something to keep in mind is that at work sessions, we have a small period for public comments on individual topics, things that aren't going to public hearing, people can weigh in on. But work sessions are supposed to be for the town board to work. People can zoom in, they can watch it on YouTube, they can watch it on Channel 22. So there is a mechanism for people to observe what is going on with government, and public hearings are when the public can generally weigh in on things. So I just put that out there, like I don't think that we're not being available to the public to know what's going on. Can invite Gordon to come up because like last year when I was running, I did not get a huge outcry from people that they wanted to have access to the town board work sessions. Most of, like working people, they're working 2 jobs, they've got kids, they don't want to come to our meetings unless it's some topic that's like hugely important to them. It's representative, it's called representative government for a reason, that, we're elected and we're supposed to consider their needs and be accessible to them. But if we should so choose to go with night work sessions, we also have to consider the impact on the staff. Because we have, it would be another, once a week meeting that Christina or a clerk would have to cover. We have various staff, town engineer at times, other staff who come in, Coco and Lena were here for the comp plan piece. So we'd have to either consider the overtime implications or flexing their schedules so that they could take time off at other times if they were working late at the meeting. So I just put that out there. If we were to do this, I wanted to try and keep it consistent. So in January, because of the way meetings were scheduled, it made the most sense for the work sessions for the month of January, like the first 2 would be on a Friday evening at 6 p.m. because it just didn't work earlier in the week. And then on other weeks when Tuesdays are available, that the work sessions could then be moved to Tuesdays. So most months, and then January was a difficult month. It leveled out the rest of the year so that we would have work sessions. The first 2 work sessions of the month would be on Wednesday, and then the rest of the month they'd be on Tuesdays. And that pretty much went through the rest of the year. First 2 on Wednesdays, last one's on Tuesdays. And maybe that's a good thing, because if, people can't make it on a Tuesday, once in a while they could come to a Wednesday one. So there's some merit to having them. Other towns do sometimes we'll have we'll have, one meeting a month on a Tuesday, another meeting a month on Thursday. So it's not unheard of to we just have to get people used to it.
Well, and as you know, I have a prior standing commitment on Tuesday evenings, so.
Oh, right, so none of those Tuesday
the
evenings.
Tuesday work
Okay.
sessions, I will not be able to attend.
Okay, so that doesn't work. So then it would be Fridays and Wednesdays.
Right.
And what about Monday?
Mondays, we've got,
That's only once a month.
well, let's see, in January, town board meeting the first week, WMAC the second week, Martin Luther King Day the third week. So, and then town board meeting the last one. So January's out. February,
WMAC on the third.
yeah, so it could work for
President's Day.
2 of the days, 2 of the weeks in February. And 3 in March.
No, it would only work for one of them because President's Day we're closed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, President's Day, yeah, so between our town board meetings every 3
Right,
weeks
work
and WMAC, we're constrained, and then Monday holidays. Yeah, I played with all sorts of configurations, which is why this is in pencil. And this, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if it goes to like night work sessions, there will be weeks where literally I have a night meeting every day of the week.
Yeah,
for like multiple weeks in a row.
that's not workable.
It's kind of cruel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I mean.
What do you mean you want to have a life?
I would like to go to bed before 9 o'clock on one of those days, maybe.
But I just thought I'd put that out there. And also, I mean, the other question is we do have some committees that meet during the day. And do
Yeah.
we want to ask Deer and Tick and
Or WAC to move later in the day.
CPF,
With
Green
WNAC.
Options,
Yeah.
WAC? Do we want them to move?
WAC used to be in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
then we moved it to the
Yeah.
daytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, as we go, as all of us start, as town liaisons go to the meetings where they start to discuss these calendars, we should ask that question.
Yeah.
Like, would you consider moving to an
Yeah,
evening
definitely.
slot? And you now have Amber's schedule, so you can actually look at it, and Jess will have it as well.
We meet Deer and Tick this morning, and we're not meeting again until
Yeah, you guys are.
April.
quarterly.
Mhm. Yeah, that one's kind of an easy one.
I mean, at some point, it'll get hard to have all the meetings in the evening because we'll just run out of days of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you have the proposed, the as-is kind of schedule. We don't have to decide on this now. Amber, we usually do this at the organizational meeting in January.
Amber, there's one more committee that we're gonna be adding in it, but they're gonna
Health and
meet.
Wellness.
Health and wellness, yeah, and their idea was to meet Fridays. It was during the day, I wanna say 11 o'clock, because that was when they had been meeting and they were all kind of coming from all over the place, and since that was the one time, where did my note go?
At this point, it almost doesn't matter when they want to meet, does it? It's like, sure, they want to meet Friday.
I mean, there's nothing on Fridays, we just don't have anything scheduled, so they would probably be a Friday. They're only gonna have 6 meetings a year, so it'll be every other month, so we'll sort out their calendar and I'll get it to you, but it shouldn't conflict with any other things, including West Neck Water, which meets Fridays at 3, so they should be fine.
Yeah, once every 3 months.
But we'll hash out their schedule and get it to you. But they're only scheduled for 6 meetings this year. Not
So we'll start with this, sit on it. Once we get the certified results, and then Gordon onto the board to bring him into the conversation.
We're gonna stick with the 1 o'clock on Tuesdays for now?
That's what's proposed,
Okay.
but we don't have
Another
to.
option we should just throw into the conversation is we do board meetings once a month, Monday evenings.
Mhm.
So maybe you can, if they want to have the work session in the evening, we can do it on Mondays and do the board meeting on Tuesday afternoon. Because it's less attended.
No, but when we have public hearings,
Yeah.
then just the public being able to come, like, that's the more important
Right.
meeting for the public to be able to attend. So
That's
that
when,
one
yeah,
we
that's when
really
they get
should.
entered into the official record.
Yeah.
So that's why it's in the evenings, and the work sessions are during the day, because there's no real official public input.
That's true.
So it's, the board meetings have to be, or we have them at night so more people could attend.
Yeah.
And doing them on the same day was just too much. That's what you guys were doing before this year.
I mean, I
Yes.
didn't mind it, because it just put all the pain in one place, but, it was a lot, and
Yeah,
There-
no,
there were definitely times where it caused
How
conflict.
about meetings on Mondays? You have the town board meeting, then you have work sessions
Well, you have the work session in the
in the
afternoon,
evening.
and then the board meeting in the
The
evening.
board meeting is every 3 weeks. So Monday is the meeting day. You lose a work session, but
yeah, I mean, the reason for Tuesday is it does give the staff and all of us a chance to finish pulling together, confirming things for the Tuesday.
Asking questions, picking up your mail, seeing if there's something.
But we could look at that, but then again, then that would put every 3 weeks, a work session, town board meeting on the same day. And that is a lot.
no, I'm saying a town board meeting on Monday, the other 3 meetings of the 3 Mondays of the month, a work session. So we eliminate 1 work session a week. Is there a need for that?
Have you seen our agendas?
I'm just saying.
Well, we can,
Look at other towns, they don't meet.
No. Yeah,
Lot bigger than we are.
yeah, but they also have staff.
Yeah, they have a lot more staff.
Yeah, they have staff who, like legislative aides.
It's just a suggestion.
they're real people running the town.
Yeah, I mean,
Or maybe for that one Monday, when the work session and the town board meeting come together, we can bump the work session to Tuesday.
I think having the buffer day of a Monday to get prepared for the work session on Tuesday is beneficial.
Very helpful.
yeah, I mean, Amber, Christina, and I have been doing a good job this year getting the agendas finalized on Friday so that we, have it. But there are often times where, last minute confirmation on somebody who's presenting has to change. And so if we're scrambling on Monday for that evening, it gets a little bit. But we don't have to make a decision today.
We'll think about it.
But
For January.
Yes, right, but
Please.
hopefully before.
so one proposal is town work sessions
Kind of keeping it the same way.
on Monday.
Monday night, yeah.
You're saying Monday night or Monday day?
Monday night.
Monday night?
So everything's on Monday evenings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we
And
can
then
reschedule
we're losing
until
one
you-
work session.
We'd be losing one work session and it's
We have to-
4:30 and we have legal counsel on hold right now.
It's gonna get,
And like,
well, let's talk
Yeah,
about it more,
and
but there's
part
a
of-
lot of
yeah, I
complications
mean,
in doing that.
part, like, Columbus Day, we didn't have something that week. We don't have something next week because of Veterans Day. So I tried to take a few out, but it seems like whenever we have one of those weeks, we're scrambling the next week to cover everything. Like,
Part of the reason why we things on Tuesdays was because most of the Mondays are holidays, like all the holidays, all the national holidays are on Mondays. Which then you'd have to keep moving all the scheduling, so you'd never have a consistent schedule. Yeah. Tim Hill is.
yeah, we do have to.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you say you have legal counsel on hold?
Yes,
Yeah. We have an executive session. Yes. All right, so did anybody have any other reports? And I just had one question for someone in the public.
No, I just thought the parade was really, really cute. I love the holiday parade. It's fun. But that's it, that's all I got.
Mr. Card, we usually do public comments at the beginning of the meeting, but I see you showed up and you've been sitting here for a while patiently. So if you want to come up to the podium and because we do have legal counsel on hold.
So before I left the highway department, we evaluated the highway situation for the road raisins. And John Cronin, I think we came up with about 1.2 million to do them all at the time. I'll be interested to see what it is now. The second thing is on site plan review. And looking at the statute that's on the books, it says for new or changed businesses. So Gardens Bay has an application coming in for this, and I'm just wondering if this is for our application for the cistern and pump station, whether or not this would apply to us because we're neither new nor changed.
Yeah. Stephen will be back tomorrow from Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Okay, it's a simple application for
You take
underground
it.
cistern and I think it's a 10 by 14 building for the electrical equipment pumps.
Yeah, no, and he had taken some vacation days. Took it in October rather than other times of the year, so.
Somebody can call me, that'd be great.
So.
God bless you all.
Motion for adjourn? No?
Motion to go into.
Oh, that's right, go
we
into
have
executive session.
Well, I guess probably
We're
legal
not coming
first
out
and then
for
executive session, so.
Yeah, okay, motion to go into.
Yeah, for legal and then also.
Executive session for legal.
And then we do have to review the employment history of an employee. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.